Chapter 1, A Beautiful Encounter. Water. I want water. A few murmuring voices sounded in Li Dong's ear, waking him from his deep sleep. Why is there a woman next to him? Could it be that he got drunk last night and someone picked up his body? The scared Li Dong, who was still a little dazed, instantly woke up and quickly lifted the quilt to take a look. Oh no! My 22 years of innocence are gone. The woman next to him was still murmuring and wanting water, attracting Li Dong's gaze. Ha! Why does this woman look a little familiar? Li Dong rubbed his eyes hard, making his eyes sparkle, and leaned his face closer to take a closer look. This is a big deal. It's Xue Zheqi, the philosophy teacher at Tianqing City Polytechnic University, the goddess in the hearts of countless boys and male teachers. After patting his head, Li Dong did not bother to pour water for teacher Xue, but leaned against the head of the bed and began to carefully recall what happened last night. As a soon-to-be graduate, Li Dong and his roommate went to an internet cafe to play games for 2 hours last night to celebrate their impending graduation from university. They didn't know how much they had drunk, but in the middle of the night, Li Dong, who was swaying, came out to the toilet to let the water run, and seemed to see a familiar figure stumbling past him. Out of curiosity, Li Dong went up to check it out and found that the person was actually his philosophy teacher Xue Zheqi. After looking around and not seeing any of teacher Xue's companions, Li Dong thought that he couldn't let the teacher leave like this alone. It was the middle of the night and it was dangerous, so he asked teacher Xue where she lived and offered to be a good person and take her home. However, Xue Zheqi, who had already drunk a lot, was not clear-headed and her speech was not fluent. Li Dong didn't understand where teacher Xue lived after she said it twice. There was nothing he could do. The groggy Li Dong could only take the groggy Xue Zheqi to a nearby hotel and open a room. After much effort, Xue Zheqi was finally placed on the bed, and Li Dong, who was also exhausted, lay down next to her. He had planned to rest for a few minutes and then leave, but the longer he rested, the more dizzy he felt, his eyes began to grow unfocused, and the dim lighting began to seem so seductive, as if everything had become unusual. I don't know who took the initiative, but Li Dong doesn't remember much of what happened afterwards. He just knows that he was driven by instinct. Just as Li Dong was reminiscing about last night's beauty, Xue Zheqi next to him seemed to wake up from thirst. The two pairs of eyes locked, and then there was a scream. What's going on? Teacher Xue, last night you were drunk, and I was drunk too. Li Dong briefly described what happened last night. Turn around, I need to get dressed, Xue Zheqi said expressionlessly, but she was actually shocked beyond belief. Her 25 years of innocence had been lost so carelessly, and she really didn't know what to say. Do you want to cry? Of course. But what's the point of crying? Crying yourself to death isn't going to turn back time, is it? Is it going to bring back your innocence? Oh. Li Dong quickly turned away, but due to the excessive movement, he took a lot of the quilt off Xue Zheqi, revealing a large expanse of snow-white skin. Don't peek, or I'll gouge your eyes out, Xue Zheqi warned, then hurriedly picked up the clothes on the floor and started to put them on. Little did she know that Li Dong could see the whole process clearly through the mirror next to him. A goddess is a goddess, with an angelic face and a devilish figure. She looks plump when she gains weight, and thin when she loses weight, but she can't hide her beautiful face no matter what. To be able to have a springtime encounter with such a goddess, Li Dong couldn't help but marvel at his luck. Could it be that he is the son of the realm? Perhaps feeling that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, Li Dong said resentfully in order to ease the awkwardness, Ms. Xue, I am willing to take responsibility for last night's incident. Responsible? What century is this? Watch less mindless drama. Xue Zheqi said with a pout. It wasn't that she wanted to, but she had moved too much when putting on her pants, and it had hurt. Oh. Li Dong helplessly responded. Indeed, it was the 21st century, and the old tactic of cooking rice to seal a relationship was long outdated. Couples broke up even after having children, and young people nowadays were very open-minded about this. As he was about to leave, Xue Zheqi seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, Did you just call me Miss Xue? Yes, you taught me philosophy. I'll be leaving school in a couple of days. I'm a recent graduate in food science. My name is Li Dong. Xue Zheqi nodded without saying anything, turned around and left the room, glancing at Li Dong one last time before leaving. When Li Dong got up to get dressed, he inadvertently saw a red patch on the bedsheet and couldn't help but be shocked. The popular teacher Xue Zheqi is still a virgin. Li Dong, who had just finished dressing, was about to go wash up when he was attracted by a sudden ringing cell phone. Hey, man, you finally answered the phone. If we couldn't get in touch with you, we were going to call the police. His roommate Wang Xiaolei's loud voice came through the phone to Li Dong's ears, making Li Dong dislikefully move the phone away from himself. Last night, the four of us in the dorm room were having a good time together, but then suddenly, in the middle of the fun, we lost track of Li Dong. He didn't answer his phone and didn't reply to our messages, so we were all worried and couldn't sleep well all night. Ahem, sorry about that. Last night, when I was going to the bathroom, I ran into an acquaintance, and we got caught up in a conversation, and before I knew it, we were at his place. I'm sorry I didn't tell you guys. Li Dong said seriously, but he was just making things up. I can guess, but was the acquaintance male or female? Did we know each other? Wang Xiaolei asked curiously. You also knew him. Okay, I'll stop here. I have to go through the formalities later, and I'll treat you to a big meal after that. Li Dong said with a smile. After hanging up the phone, Li Dong washed up and left the hotel directly. He went to the school's career office and knocked on the door. Hello, Mr. Zhang, I'm Li Dong, a recent graduate in food science. Last month I submitted a business plan, and I was told that I would hear the result in 2 days. I'm here today to ask for some advice. Li Dong said with a smile. Oh, Li Dong, right? I was going to call you today if you didn't come. Your business application has been approved. Here are the results. Mr. Zhang took a document from the drawer and handed it to Li Dong. Works food students, although they have a wide range of career options after graduation, such as food research and development engineers, quality managers, food safety managers, food inspectors, etc., the salary is really not that good. It is basically a dream to buy a house and settle down in a big city. As a young man with hemorrhoids, how would Li Dong be willing to be an honest wage earner? Chapter 2, Starting Your Own Business. When it comes to starting a business, we have to talk about why a young man like Li Dong applied for a food science degree. Li Dong's family is located in a fourth-tier city in western Henan province. His father is a cook in a state-owned enterprise canteen. He has been responsible for cooking at the stir-fry window since he started working 25 years ago, and he is still in this position until now. His mother is a freelancer who owns a small restaurant in the area, mainly selling snacks such as cold noodles, rice noodles, meat sandwiches, shabu-shabu, and cold dishes. Li Dong grew up in such a family environment and can be said to have a deep understanding of eating. When he is not busy, he likes to think about how to eat, and he can make different dishes out of ordinary ingredients. Li Dong has always believed that there are no bad ingredients, only bad cooks. In order to make a name for himself in the field of food, Li Dong, despite his family's opposition, resolutely applied for a food science major and aspired to make a name for himself in the food industry. When he entered university, his classmates were busy dating, while he was like a fish in the water, a bird in the sky. Food chemistry, principles of food engineering, food processing and machinery, food preservation technology, food quality control and safety, and other subjects, which seemed boring to other students, became invaluable learning materials in Li Dong's eyes. In the eyes of his classmates, Li Dong was synonymous with the unusual. He could learn the incredibly boring professional courses with great interest, and he studied for 4 years. During these 4 years, Li Dong borrowed all the books on food science in the library and took notes on his experiences and insights, using more than a dozen notebooks. By his junior year, some of his classmates had started preparing for graduate school or the civil service examinations, while others began to take advantage of their free time to intern in companies or factories. Li Dong, however, who was the top student in his major, made it clear that he would not pursue graduate studies, which surprised his tutor. After all, in the opinion of his tutor, Li Dong was very suitable for postgraduate study or even a doctorate, and he might even make great achievements in the field in the future. For this reason, the tutor even specifically talked to Li Dong, trying to persuade him to change his mind, and even revealed that if Li Dong was willing to do postgraduate study, they could at least guarantee him a place at their university, although they could not say the same for other schools. However, Li Dong had always been quite firm in his attitude, and had never revealed his plans after graduation, which made the tutor feel quite helpless. It wasn't until 2 months ago that Li Dong learned by chance that the snack street across from the school was to be renovated and upgraded. The original messy and disorderly stalls would be replanned and re-leased. Li Dong went to the counselor specifically for this reason, wanting to rent a stall in the snack street and start his own business. This snack street is one of the school's properties, and because it is close to 2 universities and 2 middle schools, the business is very popular every day. The school's current upgrade and renovation of the food street is also intended to raise the food street's class and increase the number of stalls, so as to collect more rent and generate income. After listening to Li Dong's idea, the counselor looked at Li Dong with regret, inwardly lamenting that a promising young talent was about to be ruined by a night market stall. However, out of concern for Li Dong, the counselor not only helped him apply for a good stall, but also fought for him a good condition, rent-free for the first year, as a way of taking care of the school's students. "Thank you, Mr. Zhang," Li Dong said after reading the approval slip in his hands and bowing to Mr. Zhang. "Don't thank me, thank your tutor instead. I'll come and support you when your night market stall opens," Mr. Zhang said with a smile. In his heart, he didn't understand at all why a top student like Li Dong would choose not to go to graduate school or get a job, but instead set up a stall in the food court. It is said that there is no distinction between noble and menial work, but is there really no distinction? Can a dung collector compare to an enterprise engineer? Can a foot washing girl compare with a university teacher? How can the class concept of thousands of years be eliminated so easily? However, no matter how much he doesn't understand, it has nothing to do with him in reality. After all, Li Dong is not his son. This is the rental contract, you can sign it to make it effective. The renovation of the snack street has been completed, and the water and electricity lines and basic renovations have also been completed. You can open for business after you have completed the procedures with the Industry and Commerce Department. Teacher Zhang reminded. "Okay, thank you, Mr. Zhang." Li Dong smiled and then signed the lease. After leaving the employment office, Li Dong was going to go to the Industry and Commerce Bureau to apply for a business license. Although there were many private business owners operating without a license, Li Dong did not want to drive without a license. He went to the school gate to wait for the bus and, when he was bored, saw a familiar face. Blue jeans, a white short-sleeved shirt, his hair pulled back, and a pair of black high heels that made a crisp sound as he walked. "Hello, Miss Xue." Li Dong greeted her with a smile. "Hello." Xue Zheqi's face was a little unnatural as she looked at the student who had taken her innocence. After returning home in the morning, she sat on the sofa for a long time, unable to come back to her senses. She felt incredible about everything that had happened last night. But no matter how incredible she felt, it was already done, and there was no point in dwelling on the details. She could only blame herself. After walking over, Xue Zheqi's colleague next to her asked with concern, "Miss Xue, your face doesn't look normal. That student just kept staring at your back." "Don't be ridiculous, he's my student." Xue Zheqi flicked her hair aside and casually explained. "That's right, there are countless students who stare at you every day, and even the dean looks at you with an abnormal gaze." Teacher Zhang in the same office teased. "Men are all bad, and staying away from them is the best protection for yourself." Xue Zheqi smiled. "Oh dear, if those guys knew that our goddess Xue had such thoughts, I don't know if they would cry and faint in the toilet." Teacher Zhang teased. "Hee, crying won't help, it's so good to be free and carefree on your own, I want to be a single noble." Xue Zheqi said softly. Looking at Xue Zheqi's receding back, Li Dong's heart suddenly felt like it had been pricked. It is said that one does not care about the long-lasting, but only about the once having. However, Li Dong wanted to say, if it cannot be long-lasting, then don't let him have it once. A short time of having will only make a person suffer from anxiety and loss, unable to distinguish between dreams and reality. Chapter 3, Applying for a License and Renting a Place to Live. "Hello, I'm here to apply for a business license for an individual business." Li Dong went to the Industry and Commerce Bureau window at the Linjiang District Administrative Service Hall in Tianqing City, speaking very sincerely. "Fill out these forms according to the template on this, and then prepare 2 copies of your ID card and provide a copy of your rental contract." The staff member said expressionlessly. "Okay." Li Dong nodded with a smile and began to fill in the application information according to the template. When it came to the field for the business license name, Li Dong hesitated for a moment. "What should I name it?" Li Dong frowned and pondered. As the first name of his own business, he had to think carefully. I got it. Let's call it Dongqi Barbecue in Linjiang District, Tianqing City, to commemorate the beauty that has passed." He submitted the completed form and the required copies of his ID card and rental contract to the staff member and waited for review. The review period was 3 working days, which meant that if there were no problems, he would receive the business license 3 days later. It was already late when he left the Administrative Services Hall, so Li Dong found a small restaurant by the roadside to fill his stomach. After dinner, Li Dong hurriedly went to the snack street across the street from the school. This snack street, which he had visited countless times, had been upgraded and renovated. The brand new shops opened on both sides of the street, and there were about 50 to 60 shops in total. He arrived at his stall, number 16, unlocked the door with the key, and entered. The interior was 25 square meters, square and rectangular in shape, and could probably fit 5 to 6 tables, with a capacity of 20 to 24 people. The barbecue restaurant didn't need much decoration either. Just set up a few tables and chairs, prepare the barbecue tools and ingredients, and you're ready to open for business. It's just that business might not be too good if you open now, because the 2 universities next door are about to go on holiday. Although there are also students who stay on campus for various reasons, they are a minority after all. The 2 middle schools next to it will also be on summer vacation soon, and classes will not resume until the end of August or early September. The slightly comforting thing is that there are still several residential areas nearby, and there will be many people passing through here during their usual commutes and evening strolls in the 2 universities. After leaving the snack street, Li Dong did not rush back to the dormitory, but went to the nearby residential area to look at the rental housing information. He has been packing his things for the past 2 days to leave the university. He can no longer live in the dormitory, so he needs to find a place to live quickly, otherwise he will have to sleep on the street. He arrives at the nearest residential community to the snack street. This community is an old family compound of the Polytechnic University. It was built at least 30 years ago and was allocated to teachers during the welfare housing era. However, after so many years, there are very few teachers living there. They are all retired old teachers, and young teachers don't care for the living environment here. Arriving at the bulletin board of the community, Li Dong looks for information on rental housing. Surprisingly, there were 2 houses for rent. He took out his mobile phone and directly dialed the phone number listed above. After connecting, Li Dong made his intentions clear, and the person on the other end was also very responsive. They agreed to meet 20 minutes later, so Li Dong could take a look at the house before deciding whether to rent it. While waiting, Li Dong took a stroll around the community. Since it was an old community, there was very little greenery, and the roads were paved with ordinary bricks and stones. There were no designated parking spaces, so private cars were parked casually. The good thing is that someone is responsible for cleaning up the garbage, and there is no situation where there is shit and garbage all over the floor. "Hello, did you just call?" A middle-aged man came over and asked. "Yes, hello." Li Dong nodded with a smile. "Let's go, I'll show you the room," the middle-aged man said. Li Dong followed the middle-aged man and arrived at room 201, Unit 1, Building 6. "You look very young, you must still be a student, right?" the middle-aged man asked as he looked at Li Dong. "Well, I just graduated this year and left school soon." Li Dong looked at the room with 1 bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, 1 bathroom and 1 balcony. The room was clean and didn't have that musty smell of a place that hasn't been lived in for years. There was a wooden sofa, an old-fashioned dining table and 2 armchairs in the living room. The bedroom had an old-fashioned wooden bed. Li Dong touched it and there was basically no dust, so he could just put the mattress and sheets on and go to sleep. There is a ready-made clothesline on the balcony, and there is also a clothes-drying pole. The room is considered to be north-south ventilation, and there is no problem with lighting in the bedroom or on the balcony. You don't need to turn on the lights during the day, and the room is bright and cheery. "Is it from the Polytechnic University or the normal university?" the middle-aged man asked with a smile. "It's from the Polytechnic University, majoring in food," Li Dong answered concisely. "This is a great feeling. My mother lived in this house when she was a teacher at the Polytechnic. She taught mathematics and worked as a mathematics teacher for her whole life. After she retired, she returned to her hometown and lived here, so the house has been left vacant ever since. However, a cleaning service is hired every quarter to clean the place, so it still looks relatively clean," the middle-aged man explained. "The house looks pretty good." "What's the rent?" Li Dong asked. "Since you are a student at the Polytechnic, we are kind of related. I'll give you a discount on the rent, just 4,000 yuan per month," the middle-aged man said cheerfully. The rent in this neighborhood is between 4,000 and 4,500 yuan, and this apartment is on the 2nd floor, which is also quite low, so 4,000 yuan is really not a high price. "Okay, but since I just graduated and don't have any financial resources at the moment, I can't afford to pay much at once. Can I pay the rent monthly?" Li Dong asked a little awkwardly. At the moment, he had 18,000 yuan in his bank card, of which 8,000 yuan was his national scholarship from the previous year and 10,000 yuan was the money he had saved from tutoring. The money he earns himself is at his disposal, and his parents still transfer him living expenses every month as usual, otherwise he wouldn't have saved any money. "Paying monthly is no problem, and I won't ask for a deposit either, just in the hope that you will take care of the rented property." the middle-aged man said after thinking for a while. A fresh graduate doesn't have any financial resources yet, and is going through the most difficult time, which he can understand. Thank you. Li Dong smiled and bowed to the middle-aged man. After agreeing on the terms, they signed the lease agreement on the spot. Li Dong handed over the first month's rent of 4,000 yuan to the middle-aged man, and he would bear the costs of water, electricity and property management fees himself. There should be a small amount left over from the water and electricity bills, which was for the convenience of the cleaning staff who came here to clean the room. This amount would also be given to you for free. As he was leaving, the middle-aged man suddenly remembered this. Looking at the empty room, Li Dong felt a little heroic in his heart. The starting point of a great cause often begins from an obscure place. Chapter 4: Buying a Car. When he returned to the dormitory, everyone was busy packing. Donzi, what are your plans? Wang Xiaolei asked, concerned when he saw Li Dong return. Of the 4 people in the dormitory, 2 had successfully passed the postgraduate entrance exam, 1 had already found a job, but Li Dong, who had the best grades, was still undecided. I plan to start my own business, Li Dong said, and then explained his plan and the preparations he had made during this period of time. A barbecue stand? Donzi, is there something you're not thinking of? Wang Xiaolei asked in surprise, and even the other people looked at Li Dong with a surprised expression. In the public's perception, selling barbecue is not a proper job. It is a way of making a living that people without qualifications or skills choose, and it is not something that top students like Li Dong should do. I am more passionate about the food industry, and barbecue is one of the simpler types. It's just the beginning, so of course I'm starting with the simplest things. It's not realistic to just go straight to opening a restaurant, and I don't have the capital. Starting from now, we will gradually accumulate and gradually transition to small restaurants, large restaurants, and chain stores. Li Dong said with enthusiasm. He doesn't feel ashamed of selling barbecue. There are 360 professions, and there are champions in every profession. Even if someone from Tsinghua University sells pork, what's wrong with someone from a polytechnic selling barbecue? That's true. Then, brothers, just wait until the day you open chain stores all over the country. Wang Xiaolei patted Li Dong on the shoulder and encouraged him. He is a native of Tianjin City and got a job as a quality inspector at a local food factory, which pays a decent salary. Since Li Dong is staying here to start a business, the 2 brothers can get together more often in the future. After spending the afternoon moving his things from the dormitory to the teachers' community, Li Dong did not idle around. He went to the local store of a national chain of second-hand car trading platforms to buy a second-hand car. After some selection and comparison, he chose a used new energy vehicle, the Corn. The new car's starting price was around 150,000 yuan, and the full price of the used car was 50,000 yuan. The mileage was 40,000 kilometers, no major repairs, no accidents, and the seller was responsible for the registration and transfer procedures. The down payment was 5,000 yuan, the monthly repayment was 4,000 yuan, and the loan was 12 installments. That afternoon, Li Dong got his new driving license, and the first thing he did with it was register as a ride-hailing driver. Yes, because the barbecue stand business may not be too busy during these 2 summer months, Li Dong is going to spend his time running online carpooling during the day and make the most of his time. After the barbecue stand business picks up, he will gradually reduce the time spent driving online carpooling. On June 30th, the 4 people in the dormitory had their last meal together. During the meal, they burst into tears, feeling incredibly sad about the impending separation. They promised to meet once a year, no matter how busy they are. Whoever got married must tell the others, and as long as they are not really unable to come, the others must be there to give their blessings. Whoever has a child must also tell the others, so that the brothers know that you have another piece of good news. On the morning of the 1st of July, Li Dong made a simple breakfast in the house, made a glass of 5-grain soy milk, fried 2 eggs, and heated half a steamed bun. He started the car and drove out of the residential area. As soon as he got on the road, he received an order. The customer was about a kilometer away and was heading to the city center. The trip was 10 kilometers. Li Dong snapped his fingers. He was in a good mood. This was the first order of his career as a ride-hailing driver, and it was an order he received right after he set out. It was a good sign. Hello, are you the customer with the last digit 1662? Li Dong arrived at the pickup point. 2 girls opened the car door and got into the back seat. Yes, the girl said. Good, please fasten your seatbelts, we are ready to go, said Li Dong enthusiastically. You don't look very old, how long have you been doing this? One of the short-haired girls asked, probably a little bored on the road. Today is the first day, and this is your first order, Li Dong said with a smile. Wow, I'm so lucky that I wish you a prosperous business, the short-haired girl said playfully. Thank you. May I ask, do you live in the area where you just got on the bus? Li Dong casually asked. What do you want to know for? The short-haired girl said guardedly. Don't get me wrong, I also run a barbecue restaurant in the snack street opposite the Polytechnic, and it happens to open tonight. If you have time, you can go and try it. I'm not bragging, but my grilled gluten is absolutely superb. Li Dong said with a smile. Oh, we'll see. The short-haired girl let her guard down as soon as she heard it was in the snack street, because it wasn't far from her. It seems like the upgrade is complete. When I passed by there yesterday, I saw that some had already opened, about a dozen. The ponytailed girl in the same group said. That's good, otherwise there's nowhere to eat, and I've had enough of the few restaurants at the entrance to the community. The short-haired girl complained. Along the way, Li Dong didn't take the initiative to speak again. The girl asked a question and he answered, and if she didn't ask, he just concentrated on driving. 20 minutes later, he arrived safely. The total income from the mileage fee, duration fee, and basic information maintenance fee for this order was 28 yuan. The platform took 7 yuan, leaving Li Dong with 21 yuan. The platform's commission was 25%. It was a bit harsh, but there was nothing he could do. Li Dong registered with the two platforms with the largest number of orders, and took orders from both at the same time. By 11:30 a.m., excluding the half-hour Li Dong spent in the bathroom, Li Dong had picked up 9 orders in 3 hours, earning 149 yuan, and had 150 kilometers of range left. He found a stall selling cold noodles by the road, and bought a meat sandwich and a serving of cold noodles for 20 yuan to get lunch. By 4:30 p.m., the range indicator showed only 30 kilometers of range left, so Li Dong parked the car and returned directly. He parked the car next to the charging pile at the entrance to the residential area and started charging it. He had driven for 8 hours today, earning 420 yuan, spent 20 yuan on food, and it would probably cost 50 yuan to fully charge the car. Discounting other costs, he had made a net profit of 350 yuan driving the car-hailing app today. Back home, he began preparing the ingredients for the evening stall. The barbecue grill, tables and chairs had been taken to the snack street yesterday, so all that was left to do was to thread the gluten, eggplant, leeks, and meat onto the skewers. At 6 p.m., Li Dong arrived at stall 16 in the snack alley with a large bag of things. Li Dong had counted them specifically. There were 56 stalls in total, 36 of which were open for business, while the rest were either still being decorated or were not planning to open for business during the summer. There were about 100 people in the snack alley at this time, mostly young people. There was no opening ceremony, so Li Dong just started his barbecue business. Chapter 5, The Barbecue Business. Hello handsome, it seems you didn't lie to us, you really have a barbecue stall here in the food court, the short-haired girl teased. Of course I did, I'm always honest and don't lie. Li Dong was fixing the barbecue grill when he heard a voice and looked up. It was the first customer he had picked up that morning. You're quite deceptive with that comment. How much are your grilled gluten? If it's not expensive, I'll give it a try. The short-haired girl teased. 2 yuan for 1 skewer, 10 yuan for 6 skewers. Li Dong said with a smile. That's not expensive. Give us 20 yuan worth of grilled gluten first, no chile, and let's see if it's as exaggerated as you say. The short-haired girl said. Okay, go inside and sit down first, it'll be ready soon. Li Dong said with a smile, and then started to get busy. A few minutes later, Li Dong brought the grilled gluten over and said with a smile, You are my barbecue stand's first customers, so I'll give you 2 skewers of kebabs for free. It's the first time again, how is this such a coincidence? The short-haired girl asked in surprise, her face full of doubt. I think this is probably just fate, Li Dong said with a playful expression. Hey, your gluten is really good, it's chewy, just the right texture, and the taste is also very good, the short-haired girl said after eating a skewer of gluten. Of course it is. It's an ancestral recipe that has been tested by countless customers. Li Dong bragged. The gluten is made by himself, not purchased from the wholesale market. The taste of the wholesale purchase is very average, and Li Dong doesn't think it's good enough. He only makes the best. The seasoning is also carefully configured by Li Dong, so that people don't feel greasy when eating it, and they don't find it tasteless either. There is also chili oil, which is fragrant but not spicy, so that people who can't eat spicy food can have a little, which not only increases their appetite, but also doesn't make them unable to eat because it's too spicy. Hey, this kebab also tastes really good. The ponytailed girl who was with him said. The meat looks very fresh, it should be lamb. The short-haired girl nodded in approval. Boss, give me 10 kebabs of grilled gluten, with less chili. A fashionable dressed couple came to the stall and said. Sure, you can go inside and wait. It'll only take a few minutes. Li Dong greeted them warmly. That's okay, we'll take away. Here, your grilled gluten is ready. Today is our opening day special, so these 2 skewers are on the house. If you like them, you can come back for more next time. Li Dong handed them over with a smile. Oh, thank you, boss. 1 skewer is 4 yuan, so 2 skewers is 8 yuan. Who doesn't like getting something for free? If it's convenient, you can scan the QR code to join our group. In the future, if you want to eat but don't want to come here, we can provide home delivery. Li Dong said with a smile. No, we're not far away. If you want to eat, just come over. Okay, take care. Li Dong said with a smile. Hey, you just gave away 8 yuan worth of kebabs. What if people don't come back? The short-haired girl asked curiously while eating the grilled gluten. That's not a problem. At least it shows me that these 2 people don't like my kebabs, which means my kebab grilling skills still need improving. Li Dong said generously. The boss is generous. Just from your mentality and outlook, your business will definitely not be bad. The short-haired girl gave Li Dong a thumbs up and said. Thank you. Come and take care of my business more often in the future. Li Dong said with a smile. No problem. Give me 10 kebabs of grilled gluten and 5 kebabs of grilled bean gluten, with less chili, to go. The short-haired girl said. At this moment, not far away, a couple were eating grilled gluten and chatting. Honey, the grilled gluten and kebabs here are really good and worth recommending, the girl said. Well, this is the 10th barbecue we've eaten it today, and this one has the best texture. And the owner is very attentive. Just now when he handed us the kebab, he specially wiped the blackened part at the front. The man praised. I didn't really care about that, but let me upload some pictures and promote it for him. Making kebabs is easy and the threshold is low, but it's not easy to make them taste good. This young owner has such a knack for it, and he won't have to worry about food for the rest of his life. The girl said as she uploaded a few pictures, and she even specially noted the location. It turned out that this couple were foodies with over 1 million followers online, and every day they shared all kinds of food with their followers and netizens. Because of their objective reviews and recommendations, many fans try the food they recommend, and over time, everyone trusts them. By 9:30 p.m., the ingredients Li Dong prepared were basically sold out, except for some eggplant, enoki mushrooms, and corn kernels. He stretched and moved his sore neck. It wasn't too busy for more than 3 hours, because it was the first day of business, so he didn't prepare too many ingredients. And every customer who came was given a skewer or 2 of grilled food, which was a big reason why he basically sold out today. You have to use your head in business. Grilled gluten sells the best and fastest because it's cheap and vegetarian, while grilled meat and some other skewers sell relatively poorly. Li Dong gave the skewers that sold relatively poorly to customers so that they could try them for free first. If customers liked them, they would buy them next time on their own initiative. Otherwise, if they didn't sell, they would be left over until tomorrow, and the taste would be poor or they would even go bad. If they went bad, they would have to be thrown away. It was better to give them to customers than to waste them. At least, it would make customers think that the owner was quite good and knew how to do business. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening when the stall was tidied up. After returning home, Li Dong went to wash up first, as he couldn't sleep with the smell of cooking oil on his body. After washing up, Li Dong, who had nothing to do lying in bed, began to calculate the income from the barbecue stall today. The income was more than 750 yuan, and after deducting the cost of ingredients, seasonings, etc., the profit was about 305 yuan. Because most of the skewers with high profit margins were given away, the profit could have reached more than 400 yuan. Plus, there was no gluten left at the end, which caused 6 customers to leave directly, which resulted in a loss of at least 100 yuan. Today's total revenue was 655 yuan, which was not bad at all. A total of 16 people joined the group, and these people were his repeat customers, so he must maintain a good relationship with them, as they may be of great help in the future. Once the barbecue stand becomes popular, it won't be a problem to double or triple the revenue. And in the future, he will add more types of food, such as seafood, homemade beer, plum juice, etc. Chapter 6, Meeting Again. On the morning of the 2nd of July, Li Dong had breakfast first, just like yesterday, and then went straight to the online car hailing service, where he worked until 4 p.m. Today's income from online car hailing was 320 yuan, slightly less than yesterday. At 6 p.m., the barbecue stand opened on time, and customers came as soon as it opened. "Boss, give me 20 skewers of grilled gluten, 10 skewers of grilled pork, 2 skewers of leeks, 2 skewers of large kidneys, 2 skewers of enoki mushrooms, and extra chili peppers." "Do you have anything to drink here?" a young man said. "At the moment, we only have soda. In a couple of days, we'll have homemade plum drink. Come back then, I'll buy you a drink. Next month, we'll have homemade beer. It'll taste much better than the average homemade beer," said Li Dong confidently. "The boss is generous, so I'll take 2 bottles of soda first. I'll try your homemade beer then. If it really is good, I'll buy a big barrel of it first," said the young man, smiling, before sitting down in a chair and waiting. "Boss, here we are again. Are we the first customers today?" the girl with short hair teased. "Almost, there was already a handsome guy waiting inside, but you are the first female customers today," Li Dong said. "Okay, 20 skewers of grilled gluten, 10 skewers of grilled meat, 1 grilled eggplant, 2 potato chips, 2 leeks, and less chili," the short-haired girl said. "Okay, hold on a second," Li Dong said with a smile, and then started to get busy. "This is the one, Dongji Barbecue, the owner is a young guy. Well, the store looks pretty clean, let's try it. Boss, 20 skewers of grilled gluten, 20 skewers of grilled meat, 1 grilled eggplant, 5 skewers of grilled bean curd, 5 skewers of enoki mushrooms, extra chili, and 2 bottles of cold soda." "Okay, hold on." Li Dong kept moving his hands, smearing sauce, and turning the skewers. His movements were fluid and graceful. As the time got later and later, the customers also became more and more numerous, and there were already queues. Under the smoky fire, Li Dong's hands never had a moment to rest, skillfully operating the barbecue grill and juggling the various skewers. "Boss, your gluten is delicious, where did you get it?" a customer asked curiously after eating 12 skewers of grilled gluten. "I made it myself, the bought ones don't taste as good," Li Dong said. "No wonder. I've eaten at so many barbecues, but yours is the only place where the grilled gluten tastes the best. Does that mean you also mix the chili yourself?" the customer asked. "Yes, how does it taste?" Li Dong asked while grilling the skewers. "It smells great and tastes great, perfectly covering the smell of the squid without losing its own taste," the customer praised. Today, Li Dong was busy until 10 p.m. before closing up shop. As he was cleaning up, the owner of the stall next to him came over to say hello. "Hello, young man, I'm the owner of the stall next to you. I haven't seen you before." A middle-aged man came over to say hello, wearing an apron. "I'm new here," Li Dong said. "The stall next door sells Odin, and business is just so-so. There are always customers, but there are rarely any lines. Li Dong's side always has a line of people waiting this evening, with up to a dozen people waiting at the same time. The business is so popular that the next door shop is jealous. No wonder, we will be neighbors from now on, please take care of me." The middle-aged man put his hands together in a fist and spoke very politely. "Good, helping each other out," Li Dong said with a smile. After tidying up the stall and going straight home, he calculated that today's profit was 520 yuan, a big jump from yesterday. The profit for the whole day was 840 yuan. Driving an online car hailing service during the day and running a barbecue stall at night made every day monotonous but fulfilling. The food was delicious, the ingredients fresh, and Li Dong's enthusiastic service, which included giving away free skewers from time to time, made customers feel happy and special. With the addition of sour plum drink to the menu, business at the barbecue stall improved considerably. Many customers came specifically to buy a cup of sour plum drink. The daily income gradually increased from the initial 400 to 500 yuan to 700 to 800 yuan, and by the end of July, the daily income had stabilized at around 1,000 yuan. At 10 a.m. on August 10th, it was drizzling. Li Dong drove an online car hailing service and took a pregnant woman to the Tianjin City First People's Hospital. "Driver, can you do me a favor?" the pregnant woman asked, her expression a little unnatural. "Just tell me, sister, if I can help, I will," Li Dong said. I feel a bit sick, and I'm carrying things in my hands. Can you accompany me to the maternity ward? I can pay you extra, the pregnant woman said anxiously. No need for extra money, sister. Just wait until I park the car and I'll take you there, Li Dong said. It's the least I can do. Who hasn't had a hard time at some point? He couldn't go against his conscience and ask for money at this time. Thank you, driver. You're such a good person, the pregnant woman said happily. After parking the car in the parking lot, Li Dong helped the pregnant woman carry her things and escorted her all the way to the obstetrics department on the 4th floor. Business at the hospital was always so good that the waiting area on the 4th floor was full of pregnant women and their accompanying family members, and there were a few people standing nearby because there was no room. After safely delivering the pregnant woman, Li Dong was ready to leave. Today was rainy and there were more orders, so he could earn a little more. As he walked to the corner to the position of the medical information desk, a name on the display caught Li Dong's eye. Xue Zheqi. She is currently being seen in the first consultation room of the obstetrics department. The surname Xue is not a common one in China, with only 6-7 million people sharing it, so the probability of having the same name is relatively low. If it were the gynecology department, Li Dong could understand, as women are prone to having some sort of inflammation or other problem. But the obstetrics department is different, as no woman would go there unless she is sick. Out of curiosity, Li Dong looked for the obstetrics clinic. Before he even got there, he saw a familiar figure coming out of a consultation room and walking directly towards the stairs. Li Dong followed quietly to the stairs. Before he could say hello, he heard a familiar voice say, "Asshole, asshole, asshole." Huh? Could it be that teacher Xue has run into a scumbag? It's possible. Nowadays, most men, especially rich ones, play with women's feelings based on the principle of only entering the body, not entering life, or not taking the initiative, not refusing, and not being responsible. While Li Dong was still mentally helping teacher Xue vent about the scumbag, he only heard Xue Zheqi go on to yell, "Li Dong, you bastard, son of a bitch, dead scumbag, didn't you say you were going to be responsible for me?" Oh. Li Dong was dumbfounded. If he heard it correctly, the person that teacher Xue had just cursed it was him. Could it be that the encounter that night had been a one-night stand? Holy shit! Li Dong was so shocked that sweat broke out on his forehead. Chapter 7, I'll support you from now on. Teacher Xue, I'm here. Li Dong gathered his courage and said. He looked up at the person in front of him, and it was Li Dong. Xue Zheqi's eyes flashed with panic, and at the same time, she seemed to feel a little relieved. After all, she had never experienced anything like this before. She, an unmarried and unromantic young lady, suddenly learned that she was pregnant, and she didn't even know how she got out of the consultation room. Just now, when she was buried in her tirade, she instinctively cursed Li Dong, but she was just venting her anger. She, a university teacher who had worked for 3 years, didn't know how to handle this kind of thing, and Li Dong, a fresh graduate, knew nothing about it. Why are you here? Are you following me? Xue Zheqi asked with a stern face. Xue Zheqi hated Li Dong, the culprit, to death. No, I was bringing a pregnant woman to the hospital for a checkup, and I saw your name on the display screen by accident, so I was curious and came to take a look. Li Dong hurriedly explained. After hearing Li Dong's words, Xue Zheqi's face looked a little better, but thinking about what the doctor had just said, Xue Zheqi had an idea in her heart. I'm pregnant, yours, and I'm currently 8 weeks pregnant. Xue Zheqi looked at Li Dong and said, wanting to see Li Dong's reaction when he found out. Teacher Xue, is it really mine? Li Dong asked excitedly, his hands clenched into fists as he tried his best to control his emotions. It seemed that his guess was correct. Looking at Li Dong's extremely excited expression, Xue Zheqi said again, but I'm not ready to be a mother, and I've never thought that I would be a mother one day, so I'm not going to give birth. Ah? Li Dong went from extreme excitement to surprise, shock, and looked at Xue Zheqi with an open mouth in disbelief. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head, and for a moment Li Dong didn't know what to say. What, do you have an objection? Xue Zheqi asked with an expressionless face as she looked at Li Dong. I don't know how to express what I'm feeling. If it's possible, I hope you can give birth to him. Li Dong looked into Xue Zheqi's eyes as he quickly organized the words in his head. Because his next statement would likely determine whether a life would go on or end, and this life still had a huge relationship with him, so he couldn't afford to be careless. Continue, said Xue Zheqi, wanting to hear what Li Dong would say. I have never been in love since I was born, let alone had intimate behavior with a girl. Li Dong said with a blush. Hearing this, Shuejiachi felt a burst of comfort in her heart. It turned out that this was also his first time, so it didn't seem like she was losing out too much. I don't know how to take care of a girl, and I don't know how to take care of a baby, but I'm willing to do my best to take care of the girl and the baby. Although I'm a recent graduate, I have independent financial ability and earn more than most people who have graduated for many years, so I can provide the baby and his mother with a good material condition. This is my bank card, which I will entrust to you from now on. There are currently 45,000 yuan in it, and every month there will be no less than 25,000 yuan deposited into it. Although this is not a lot of money, it should be enough to support the child and you. I like children myself, and I like playing with them. I have patience, confidence, and determination to be a good father. Li Dong said like a pledge. Finished? Shuejiachi asked, looking at Li Dong. Yes, I'm done. Li Dong nodded nervously and looked at Shuejiachi. At this time, his heartbeat was at least 140 beats per minute, faster than when he finished running a kilometer in a physical test. Let's go, take me back. Shuejiachi said with a devilish smile. Ha? Li Dong didn't react at once and froze for a moment. Aren't you leaving? Then I'll go. Shuejiachi turned around and walked towards the elevator. Li Dong didn't see it, and a smile flashed across Shuejiachi's face just as she turned around. I'm leaving. Li Dong hurriedly said. Is this your car? Shuejiachi, who was sitting in the passenger seat, asked as soon as they got in the car. Yes, I bought a used car to drive for Uber, and I usually use it as a means of transportation. Li Dong said with a smile. You just said you can earn at least 25,000 yuan a month, but you can't earn that much driving a car for hire, can you? Shuejiachi asked curiously. It's true that I can't earn that much driving a car for hire, just 5,000 to 6,000 yuan a month. I also have another source of income, selling barbecue at the food court opposite our university, which can earn me tens of thousands of yuan a month. After deducting rent and car loan payments, I can still save more than 20,000 yuan a month. Li Dong explained to Shuejiachi while driving. After deducting rent and car loan, there is still more than 20,000 yuan left. Just now, she thought the 20,000 yuan that Li Dong mentioned was gross, but she didn't expect it to be net. Is selling barbecue that profitable? She is a teacher at a university, and her monthly income and subsidies combined is just a little over 20,000 yuan. She is not even as well paid as a recent graduate. Driving to a residential community called Mingduyuan across the street from the school, Li Dongjing hesitated about how to broach the subject and follow her in. Shuejiachi, being understanding, said, Do you want to go up and take a look together? Yes, that's what I want. Li Dongjing nodded excitedly. They arrived at 2101, Unit 2, Building 9, and Shuejiachi used her fingerprint to unlock the door. Once inside, a light, fresh fragrance hit them. The room was very clean, and it was clear that teacher Shui usually paid a lot of attention to personal hygiene. Unlike some girls, she is quite pretty and fashionable, but her room is a mess and you can't even put your feet down. Have a seat, I'll pour you a glass of water, said Shuejiachi, changing into slippers. No, you're pregnant, and I'm not thirsty either, so let's just sit and chat, Li Dong quickly said. Okay, here's your bank card back, said Shuejiachi, putting the card in front of Li Dong. Seeing Li Dong's suddenly flustered eyes, Shuejiachi said, Recently, I've been preparing for the publication of my thesis. I get up early and go home late every day. Staying up late is a common occurrence, and my biological clock is all messed up. So when my period didn't come on time, I just thought that I'd been too tired recently, which caused it to be delayed. This has happened before, and it's been anywhere from 3 to 5 days, or 7 to 8 days. But this time, it's been delayed for 3 weeks and still hasn't come. Thinking about what happened that night, I went out and bought a pregnancy test and tested myself at home. I tested several times in a row and got 2 lines every time. I was a little unnerved. In fact, I went to the hospital last week for a checkup and confirmed that I was pregnant, but I wasn't sure whether I wanted to keep the baby. The doctor said that my uterine wall was thinner than normal, and if I didn't keep this baby, I might not have the chance to have children in the future. Shuejiachi sighed and said, but Li Dong listened with full heartache. Chapter 8, Braised Chicken. After a week of consideration, I finally decided to give birth to him. Since God has given us this bond, we should cherish it. When I asked you at the hospital, I was just trying to test your reaction. In fact, no matter how you answer, it will not change my decision to give birth to him. Shuejiachi said with a gentle face, and then unconsciously placed her hand on her lower abdomen, where a new life was being nurtured. Regardless of whether it was a test or not, as a man, I should take responsibility. I am already an adult, and I should bear the consequences of my actions. Li Dong said seriously as he looked at Shwejechi. Think about it carefully yourself. This is not like being in a relationship, full of romance and moonlight. Raising a child can be a lot of trouble and full of arguments. Shwejechi looked at Li Dong with a serious expression and said, "Why can't raising a child be romantic? I don't think raising a child is just a lot of trouble, it can also be warm, happy, and blissful." Li Dong asked in return. Shwejechi nodded without saying anything else, saying that it was one thing to say and another to do, and she would have to wait and see how Li Dong would behave. If his behavior was satisfactory, she would of course be happy to give her child a complete family, but if it wasn't, she would have the courage and strength to be a single mother. It was getting late, time for lunch. What did you want to eat? Li Dong glanced at his phone, it was already 11:30. I haven't had much of an appetite lately, I throw up no matter what I eat, said Shwejechi. She has been experiencing dry heaves for the past 2 weeks. At first, it wasn't obvious and it didn't happen very often, but in the past few days it has gotten worse. She vomits at the slightest hint of a strange smell. Do you usually eat more noodles or rice? Li Dong asked with concern. He was confident in his cooking skills. Although they weren't up to everyone's standards, they were definitely better than what you could get in an ordinary restaurant. It's about the same. Can you cook? Shwejechi looked at Li Dong in surprise. She basically doesn't cook at home, not because she's lazy, but because the food she makes is not tasty, and she generally doesn't cook for herself unless she has no choice. I can cook a little. Today, let me show you my cooking skills. I haven't cooked for a woman other than my mom. Li Dong said with a smile, then walked into the kitchen and looked at the ingredients in the fridge. Oh. That's right, he's never been in a relationship, so of course he hasn't cooked for other girls. For some reason, upon hearing Li Dong's words, Shwejechi felt a little happy. Shwejechi just sat on the sofa watching Li Dong busy in the kitchen, but she didn't know how good Li Dong's cooking was. What if it wasn't delicious and she couldn't eat it later? Would that be rude? After all, it was the first time someone had cooked for her. If she really couldn't eat it, she would just say that she had severe morning sickness. Yes, that wouldn't seem too rude. In a moment, Li Dong came out with 2 bowls of noodles. There were relatively few ingredients in the kitchen, but fortunately there was a pack of dried noodles, and there were also a few garlic sprouts and tomatoes in the refrigerator. Let's make do with these for now, and I'll go to the supermarket in the afternoon to buy some ingredients and cook something delicious for you tonight. Li Dong said while checking the ingredients in the house. It smells good, let me try some. Shwejechi said with a smile, taking a bite of the noodles and eating it. How is it? Li Dong asked. Well, it's not bad, much better than what I can cook. Shwejechi said happily. You've got morning sickness, don't eat too much at once, just eat until you feel full. Li Dong said. It was amazing, in the past few days she had never been able to finish a full bowl of rice, but today she had finished an ordinary serving of noodles. When she finished the last bite, she was surprised herself. You rest, I'll clean up. Li Dong quickly got up and cleaned up the dishes the 2 of them had used, and also cleaned up the kitchen. Shwejechi nodded, and at this moment she was already feeling a little sleepy. Teacher Shwe, you take a nap first, and give me the key to the front door, I'll come back when I'm making dinner. Li Dong wiped his hands and smiled. You're going to be busy at the food stall in the night market, so you go ahead and I'll order takeaway. Shwejechi said. Takeaway food isn't clean and it's not nutritious. I'll only be at the stall from 6 p.m., so I'll go after I've cooked dinner for you. It's close by anyway. This afternoon I'll go to the administrative services hall to take care of some business, and then I'll go to the supermarket to buy some things. Li Dong said. After a month of fermentation, his homemade beer was ready last week. In order to sell it legally, he went out of his way to apply for a food business license, and today is the day he goes to pick it up. Compared to barbecue, homemade craft beer is more profitable, and he is confident in his product. As early as his freshman year, he taught himself how to brew beer and started selling it in his mother's small restaurant. Several improvements to the recipe and process have been made along the way to make it taste even better. Many people come to the restaurant just to eat the homemade beer he brews. Okay then. Shwejechi nodded, and then gave Li Dong a spare house key and a set of the community access cards. At 3:30 p.m., Li Dong returned with 2 big bags of things, and Shwejechi was still sleeping. When he arrived in the kitchen, Li Dong began to show off his skills. He first prepared the black bone chicken, then stewed it in an earthenware pot with a few red dates. He turned on the rice cooker and steamed the millet rice. Shuejuchi, who was still asleep, smelled a fragrance, slowly opened her eyes, and sniffed twice. It was indeed a fragrance. She got up and walked out, and saw Li Dong cleaning up. "When did you get back?" Shuejuchi asked. "I got back a while ago. By the way, I bought folic acid, dried fruit, and some fruit this afternoon. See if it suits your appetite." Li Dong put down the mop in his hands and brought over some of the food he had bought. "You bought folic acid?" Shuejuchi looked at Li Dong in surprise. "Well, I looked it up. You need to take a lot of folic acid in the first trimester to prevent neural tube defects in the fetus. You should start taking it in the first trimester, but in our case, it's not a problem, it can still be helpful," said Li Dong. What's cooking in the kitchen?" "It smells so good," said Shuejuchi, changing the subject. "Braised black chicken, steamed baby rice, a cucumber salad, and a plate of beef," said Li Dong. "You can even braise a chicken?" Shuejuchi asked in surprise. When Li Dong said he could cook in the morning, she thought he could only cook simple homestyle meals, but she didn't expect him to be able to braise a chicken, which seemed very complicated to her. Moreover, Li Dong could also barbecue. What a treasure boy. "I can do it a little, wait until you try it and see if it's to your liking. If you don't like it next time I'll improve it," Li Dong said with a smile. Chapter 9, Homemade Beer. "This soup is so fresh." Shuejuchi's eyes narrowed with joy as she took a sip of the black chicken soup. Despite her good looks and figure, she was definitely a foodie. She had high standards when it came to food, and ordinary food simply wouldn't make her happy. But this chicken soup made by Li Dong really suited her taste, not inferior to the food she ate in those fancy restaurants. "How's the taste?" "I didn't dare to add too much seasoning," Li Dong asked with a smile. "It's just right, it's delicious." Shuejuchi smiled. "How about you try the chicken?" "I deliberately stewed it for 20 minutes to make the meat more tender," Li Dong said. "I'll try it." "Whoops, it's hot." Shuejuchi took a bite and flapped her hands a few times to cool it down. "You take your time. Teacher Shue, eat it with the millet rice to prevent getting sick of it." Li Dong served a bowl of millet rice. Shuejuchi buried her head in her food, feeling a warm current flow through her heart. From childhood to adulthood, she never lacked admirers and suitors, but she had never considered the idea of falling in love, let alone getting married and having children. When she was young, every time her parents argued, she would hide under the covers and cry, fearing every day that she would become a single-parent family. After she graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree and became a teacher, she never considered falling in love. Because among her classmates and colleagues, there were so many who broke up after a few years of being in a relationship, and almost none made it from the beginning to the end. In her opinion, men are all fickle, and after the novelty of the first few years wears off, they will fall in love with someone else. So, rather than ending up with a broken heart, she might as well live alone and have fewer troubles. But Li Dong now warms her heart like a gentleman, making her feel very special. "By the way, let's add each other as friends so we can keep in touch," Li Dong said with a smile. "Sure," Shuejuchi replied indistinctly, chewing on some chicken. After finishing eating, Li Dong cleaned up the dishes in the kitchen and then looked at the clock. It was already late. "Teacher Shue, I'm going to work at the stall, so you can just relax at home. But you can take a stroll around the neighborhood, otherwise if your weight gain is too fast at the beginning, it might be difficult for you to give birth at the end," Li Dong said. "Yes, I know." Shuejuchi nodded, feeling very touched by Li Dong's care. "Boss, you're 10 minutes late for your stall today." Li Dong had just set up his stall when a pretty voice rang out. It was the short-haired girl, except that she was here alone today. "I got held up a bit today, I'll give you a skewer of grilled gluten later," Li Dong said with a smile. Hee, thank you." The short-haired girl smiled and sat inside. She lived nearby and loved grilled gluten, without which she felt something was missing. "Still 10 skewers of grilled gluten, with less chili?" Li Dong asked with a smile. And 2 more skewers of grilled meat, and a bowl of sour plum soup," the short-haired girl said. "Today my own beer is ready, I'll buy you a drink later." Li Dong handed over the skewers and sour plum soup and smiled. "I don't drink." "Hey, you're not trying to pick me up, are you?" the short-haired girl teased Li Dong. Since Li Dong started selling barbecue in the snack street, she has come almost every day and is quite familiar with Li Dong. They usually exchange harmless jokes. Li Dong has been the only one manning the stall for more than a month. No matter how busy he is, she has never seen anyone else come to help. These words left Li Dong at a loss for words. He is naturally a shy person, and since he has never been in a relationship, he suddenly ran out of things to say. I'm just joking. Look, you're blushing, so you probably haven't been in a relationship yet. The short-haired girl looked at Li Dong's dejected appearance and laughed. Li Dong was at a loss for words, but just then a customer came in, and it was an acquaintance. "Boss, give me 10 skewers of grilled meat and 10 skewers of grilled gluten." "If it's not delicious, don't pay for it," Xiao Lei Wang said with a smile. "What are you doing here today?" Li Dong asked with a smile. For the past month or so, Xiao Lei Wang has been coming here once a week to see if his good friend needs any help, and also to show his support. "I was out on a job today, but I happened to be nearby, so I brought my colleague with me," Xiao Lei Wang said, pointing to the two people next to him. "Okay, come on in and sit down. My home-brewed beer is just ready, so we'll have a good time eating and drinking today," Li Dong said with a smile. Just as they were talking about drinking, someone came in asking for a drink. "Boss, is your craft beer ready yet?" The middle-aged man who had been here last month came back. "Okay, have a seat, I'll buy you a drink later," Li Dong said with a smile. "Hey, that's really good, your white beer has a great taste, better than most of the home-brewed beers I've tried. Do you have a secret recipe?" the man asked in surprise. This man is called Wu Jun, a wholesaler in the farmer's market, specializing in the wholesale sale of various agricultural and sideline products, mainly supplying restaurants, canteens, and some small vendors. "Of course, you won't find this taste anywhere else," Li Dong said with a smile. "How much is your glass?" Wu Jun asked with a smile, taking another big sip. 20 yuan per liter," Li Dong said with a smile. A barrel is exactly 25 liters, which can sell for 500 yuan. The cost is less than 50 yuan, which is simply profiteering. The output is not large yet, and 4 barrels can be produced every day. In order to increase the audience, Li Dong has just made 3 types, 1 barrel of white beer, 1 barrel of black beer, and 2 barrels of fruit beer. "Hey, boss, your price is not expensive." "Wait a minute, give me a barrel to take away first," Wu Jun said with a smile. "There aren't that many large containers." Li Dong thought for a moment and said, "Who in their right mind would buy so much beer at once, especially not in bulk?" "I have one. I brought a clean water bucket especially for your beer," Wu Jun said with a smile. "Boss, 10 skewers of grilled gluten, 10 skewers of grilled meat, 2 skewers of leeks, 1 eggplant, and a cup of sour plum soup." "Okay, just a moment," Li Dong said with a smile, keeping up the pace of grilling the skewers. "Boss, does it say here that if you spend more than 50 yuan, you get a free glass of house beer?" "Yes." "Then I've spent enough." "You have, and I was going to bring it over when I was done grilling the skewers, but you noticed it yourself," Li Dong said with a smile. Boss, you're so funny." "Boss, 2 glasses of sour plum soup." "Don't you want to order some skewers?" Li Dong asked with a smile. "No, I'm a bit full from eating today. We just came from the shop over there and wanted to drink your plum juice, so we came here especially." "Really? For your support, I'll give you a glass of home-brewed beer. I just started selling it today, so you're in luck," Li Dong said with a smile. "Home-brewed beer? It's 20 yuan a liter, which isn't too expensive. I'll buy you this one. If you like it, you can bring a friend next time." Li Dong handed over a glass of beer and 2 plum drinks with a smile. "Boss, you've got a great business. You've already given away 4 or 5 glasses of beer in just a short while. No matter how it tastes, at least the customer feels different." Wu Jun wiped his mouth while smiling. "Many of them are repeat customers. It's no big deal to buy someone a drink, it's like making friends." Li Dong smiled. Chapter 10 Planning. It was already 10 o'clock at night when the last skewer was sold. Wang Xiaolei and the others saw that Li Dong was too busy to spare the time to chat, so they didn't stay long and went home, agreeing to go out for a drink later. Li Dong lifted the glass next to him and gulped down half of it in one go, then rubbed his sore wrists and waist. He had been busy as hell all night, and didn't even have time to drink. But today's sales were good. He sold all 4 barrels of beer, with the exception of the 5 liters given away, and 95 liters in total. Most customers said it was delicious, with a better taste than industrial bottled beer, while a small minority thought it was about the same as other home-brewed beers. 60 servings of plum drink were also sold, and with the takings from the kebabs, a careful calculation showed that the revenue for the evening reached 2,800 yuan. This is profit, not turnover. Today's online car hailing didn't work out, and only 3 orders were made, so the revenue was negligible. Li Dong was happy, but not satisfied. If it were just him, this income would be enough to make him overjoyed. But now he is not alone. There is also a baby on the way, and the baby's mother. Right now, the two of them are renting a house, but when they have a baby, they can't keep renting, right? Right now, both the house he rents and the one that Shuejechi rents are too small, and in the future, the baby won't be able to move around in the house. When they have a baby, they will definitely need to hire a postpartum nanny, but where will she live? In the future, their parents will occasionally come to stay for a few days, but where will they stay? So now they face a very important problem: buying a house. As a first-tier city, Tianjin is economically active and has a large migrant population. Coupled with the city's generally beautiful environment, housing prices have remained firm. Take the residential area near their polytechnic, for example. The price per square meter is over 30,000 yuan, and the price of a good-sized apartment is close to 40,000 yuan. A 3-bedroom, 150 square meter apartment costs 4 to 5 million yuan, and a 20% down payment is 800,000 to 1 million yuan. But he only has 50,000 yuan in his bank account. It will be a year before he saves up enough for a down payment, and a year from now, his child will already be born. Having a child is a major expense in itself. After the birth, there will be formula, diapers, hiring a postpartum helper, clothes, toys, etc. Oh my god! The more Li Dong thought about it, the more overwhelmed he felt. He lay on the bed for a long time, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. In the end, he was so tired that he didn't know what time he fell asleep. Early the next morning, Li Dong got up early to start tidying up, cooked breakfast, ate a little himself, and then packed the rest of it into a thermos before rushing to Shuejechi's house. It was still less than 8 o'clock, and Shuejechi was still asleep. Li Dong was about to use a note to explain the situation to Shuejechi when the bedroom door opened. Shuejechi came out wearing a pink pajama set, yawning and with sleepy eyes. "Good morning, Miss Shue." Li Dong greeted her. "Hey, why are you here so early?" After Li Dong left yesterday afternoon, Shuejechi suddenly felt very bored in the house alone. Even her usual favorite TV series were watched absent-mindedly, watching the back and forgetting the front. In the past, when she was always alone, she didn't feel anything wrong. She spent her time watching dramas, scrolling through her phone, and watching some kind of grass-planting shows and beauty shows. But since Li Dong entered her life, it seems to be little by little changing her habits. "It's getting late, it's almost 8 o'clock, go wash up and get ready for dinner," Li Dong said. A beauty is a beauty, and she looks so good even with no makeup on after waking up, which is completely different from those who rely on all kinds of makeup to look good. "You've already cooked dinner?" Shuejechi asked in surprise. "Yes, I made it and brought it directly over. It's in the thermal lunchbox, I'll serve it," Li Dong said nonchalantly. "Hee, okay, thank you for your hard work." Shuejechi felt a burst of joy in her heart. It felt good to have someone care about her. Millet and red date porridge, cucumber, hard-boiled eggs, and bean sprouts in vinegar. "I used to be very unreliable about eating on time. When I was busy at work I often just ate when I remembered," Shuejechi said while drinking the porridge. "Don't do that again, you know you're pregnant. And I'll take care of you and the baby. I can't promise anything else, but I'll do the cooking and the housework," Li Dong said, patting his chest. "How's your barbecue business?" Shuejechi asked casually. "It's okay, I can manage for now," Li Dong said with a smile. "You drive an online car hailing service during the day and run a barbecue stall at night. That must be hard work, right?" Shuejechi asked. "It's not hard work. I'm a man, and I have to take responsibility for supporting my family," Li Dong said smugly. "So, what are your plans for the future?" Shuejechi asked. She wanted to know what Li Dong planned to do in the future, including but not limited to himself, the two of them, and the three of them. "The long-term plan is to open my own restaurant and make it famous far and wide, so that when people think of eating out, they think of my restaurant. The short-term plan is to buy a house, a bigger car, propose to you, and marry you." Li Dong looked at Shuejechi and said seriously. Shuejuchi had no problem with the long-term plan, and it should be very possible to achieve. Because the meals Li Dong has cooked in the past 2 days have not been the same, and they all taste pretty good. Even someone with a picky appetite like her can't find anything wrong with them. They are more than enough to open a restaurant. His short-term plan was to buy a house, a car, and marry her, which made her a little bit tempted. A man can be poor. After all, Li Dong was just a recent graduate. It was already a remarkable thing to have a savings of tens of thousands of dollars in just 2 months. Many people have been working for 3 to 5 years and still don't have 5 digits in their bank accounts. She is not someone who dislikes the poor and loves the rich, and she is even less of a materialistic woman. Otherwise, with her qualifications, she would have never gotten involved with Li Dong. But a man must have a plan for his life, know what he should do, and then work hard towards that goal. In this regard, Li Dong has done a very good job and worked very hard, at least letting her know that Li Dong is thinking about her and their future children and family. This is the most basic manifestation of a man's responsibility. Well, that's pretty good. Shuejuchi nodded with satisfaction and didn't say much more, because if she brought up certain topics on her own initiative, it would change the meaning. For example, where to buy a house, how big to make it, whether to buy a new or second-hand house, what price range to buy a car, etc. Chapter 11, Li Dong's mother calls. After leaving Shuejuchi's house, Li Dong went straight to hail a ride. He had no choice, as he would have to support his family in the future, and every little bit helped. As soon as he drove out of the residential area, Li Dong's phone rang. "Hello, Mom, do you miss me?" Li Dong answered with a smile as he turned on the speakerphone. "You little rascal, it's been how many days since you called to say hello to your mother? You really are a waste of my worry." Li's mother, Chen Sufan, scolded with a smile. Hey, I've been thinking about you all the time." Li Dong said awkwardly, "I've been busy as a bee lately, and now I'm suddenly going to be a father, so my mind doesn't have any free time." "Son, how's your barbecue stand business going?" Chen Sufan asked with concern. Li Dong's father had a slight problem with the idea that, after graduating, Li Dong didn't look for a job but wanted to run a barbecue stall instead. He felt that his son had gone to university for nothing. Li Dong's mother, on the other hand, was supportive. After all, she was self-employed and had always run a small restaurant, earning much more than Li Dong's father. She was a practical person who valued substance. As long as she could make a legal and compliant profit and support herself, that was fine. It sounded good to the white-collar workers sitting in the office, but it was not certain whether the money earned in a month was enough to spend. "The business is doing very well. Your son is a gourmet, and he has inherited your talent for cooking. His barbecues are loved by everyone, and young girls and wives can't stop thinking about them." Li Dongko said flirtatiously. "Go away, the more you say, the more outrageous it gets. When will you bring a girlfriend back for me, so I can feel at ease?" Chen Sufan said with a pout. Her son is good at everything, except that he is too honest, a bit shy and introverted. The children in the neighborhood started dating in junior high school, and their parents were extremely worried about it, fearing that it would affect their studies. Her son has never had such problems. He just studies every day, and then spends his free time researching all kinds of food. It's quite a relief for her, but now that he's graduated from college, it's time to find a girlfriend, right? Even though it's fashionable to get married and have children later these days, it still takes a year or two to fall in love, and another year or two to have children after getting married. What's the rush? You can just bring your daughter-in-law and your first grandchild back with you when the time comes, so that you can brag to all your old girlfriends." Li Dong said with a smile. "If you really have that ability, I can't stop smiling in my sleep. Alas, I don't know when the day will come when you get married and have children." Li's mother said with a fake air of sadness. "When I left this morning, I happened to see the child from the next door taking his girlfriend home to meet his parents. Although the girl is quite average looking, I still can't help but envy her. I don't have high expectations for my future daughter-in-law, as long as she is down to earth and willing to work hard and live a good life. That's the foundation of a stable marriage. As for appearance, education, work, family conditions, etc., these are all secondary and are just icing on the cake. I want that too, but nowadays when I look for a partner, the first thing they ask is, do you have a house, a car, savings, and do your parents have a pension? It's really not worth talking about." Li Dong said deliberately. "How can young people who have just graduated have a house, a car, and savings? Unless the family is well off and can buy a house and a car directly, how can ordinary people afford that?" Chen Sufan said. The world has changed, it's not like the time they grew up. Back then, everyone was poor, and the bride price was negotiable. Many couples got married without a bride price and lived in a couple of dilapidated rooms. Nowadays, a house in the city can cost tens of millions of yuan, and an ordinary family can't afford it even if they empty their wallets. If they manage to scrape together the money, they still have to take out a 30-year mortgage, and life is a constant struggle. Mom, the down payment for a similar house in Tianjin City is 1 million yuan. I'll find a partner when I've saved up 1 million yuan, Li Dong said with a smile. Son, can you pay the down payment on a house with 1 million yuan in your area? Don't lie to your mother, she's not very knowledgeable. Chen Sufan asked suspiciously. She had only been to Tianjin City once, when Li Dong was admitted to university, and she accompanied him to register, together with his father. She and her husband, who had always lived in a fourth-tier city, were curious about everything in Tianjin City: the high-rise buildings, the busy traffic, the neon lights, the elevated highways, the subway and light rail, etc. She heard that Tianjin City is expensive, and it is basically impossible for outsiders to buy a house there and settle down, unless they are very wealthy, because a house costs tens of millions of yuan, plus renovations, buying a parking space, and buying furniture and appliances. It is definitely a huge expense. So subconsciously, she feels that buying a house in Tianjin City is impossible. 1 million is enough to buy a 3-bedroom apartment of 140 to 150 square meters with a not bad location, said Li Dong. How much is the monthly mortgage payment? Chen Sufan asked, feeling an inexplicable joy in her heart. If you take out a 30-year loan, the monthly payment will be about 21,200 yuan. Li Dong roughly calculated and said. Such a high monthly payment? Chen Sufan was again at a loss. Li's father only earns about 4,000 yuan a month, and she earns a little more running the small restaurant, with a net profit of about 16,000 yuan a month, sometimes a little more, up to 20,000 yuan. In other words, the two of them could just barely afford the monthly mortgage payments without eating or drinking. The key was that they had to make the payments for 30 years, and it was questionable whether she would even be alive after 30 years. Why are you asking so many questions, Mom? Are you going to sponsor me to buy a house? Li Dong asked with a smile. He didn't know exactly how much money the family had. Anyway, there should be a few 100,000 yuan. After all, his mother had been running the restaurant for almost 20 years, and the business had always been pretty good. It's just that he has always wanted to buy a house and a car on his own. It's not just wishful thinking on his part, but if he is given some time, he can definitely do it. Now he basically has a stable monthly income of around 50,000 to 60,000 yuan, which is more than 700,000 yuan a year. In a year and a half, he will have saved enough for the down payment. It's just that time is not on his side right now. In another 7 months or so, his child will be born, and he won't have that much time. He just bought a house, so he needs to decorate it, right? At the very least, it will take 2 to 3 months to decorate, and after that, it will take at least half a year to ventilate, right? If he relies on himself, his child will be going to kindergarten before he can move into the house. It doesn't matter if he does it himself, even if he lives in a bare shell. The point is that there is a wife and child, and they can't suffer. How much can you earn in a month at the barbecue stall? Can you earn 10,000? Chen Sufan asked. In her mind, as long as her son can earn 10,000 a month, they can consider buying a house. The monthly payment will be mostly paid by them and a small part by her son, and the rest of the money will barely be enough to live on. Chapter 12: Buying a house. Not only that, but he can probably earn 20,000 to 30,000 yuan. Li Dong said a relatively conservative figure. After all, the barbecue has only been open for a little over a month, and business will definitely be affected by the winter. Good son, worthy of your mother's careful nurturing. You just said that if you have a house, you can find a girlfriend? Chen Sufan felt relieved. It seems that her son is doing well. An income of 20,000 yuan a month is considered high income anywhere. Well, more or less. Li Dong seemed to suddenly realize something, and his heart began to beat rapidly. Good, I'll transfer 1 million yuan to you, and you should take some time to look at the house. I saw on the news that house prices have been rising, and the sooner you buy, the more you save. Chen Sufan said without pausing for breath. Mom, are you serious? Li Dong was surprised and quickly pulled over, afraid of being distracted while driving and having another accident. Of course it's real. Why, did you just lie to your mother? Chen Sufan asked in a harsh tone. No, Mom, since we've already said so much, I'd like to let you know something in advance, so that you won't have a heart attack. Li Dong organized the words in his head, thinking about how to tell his mother about Shuejechi. What's so serious? Chen Sufan asked. If I get someone's girl pregnant, what would you do, Mum? Li Dong stammered. Ha? Chen Sufan froze for a moment. This question is a bit too provocative, isn't it? You don't even have a girlfriend yet, how come you even have a child? No, just now my son said that without a house he couldn't find a girlfriend, and now he's asking what he would do if his girlfriend got pregnant. These two seemingly unrelated sentences seem to have some kind of connection. Not only does my son have a girlfriend, he's also got her pregnant. Now the girl wants a house before they get married, or else it's over between them. Yes. That must be it. That's the truth. Chen Sufan's eyes were shining with excitement. This brat is really something, he's pulled off a surprise like this without saying a word. Mom, are you okay? Li Dong asked. You little rascal, you've forgotten your mother now that you've got a wife. Since the girl is already pregnant, you should arrange for the parents of both sides to meet up and discuss the wedding arrangements, and then you should get married as soon as possible, otherwise you won't be able to wear a wedding dress when you get bigger, and it won't look good to have a wedding while you're pregnant. Chen Sufan said with a smile. Ha? He was stunned by his mother's words. When did her brain become so quick that she could guess the truth so directly? Ha, you little rascal. I'll go to the bank to make the transfer later, and you hurry up and look at the house with your daughter-in-law. After you buy the house, you still have to decorate it and let it air out. This all takes time. How could you tell me about such an important matter only now? You really need a spanking. Chen Sufan's excited voice clearly reached Li Dong's ears from thousands of miles away over the phone. Ugh. Li Dong was really confused by this turn of events with his mother. He had only started it, and his mother had already filled in the rest for him. How many months pregnant is your daughter-in-law? Chen Sufan asked. Just 2 months. Li Dong was still a little uncomfortable with his mother's use of the term daughter-in-law. After all, Shuejechi had not yet agreed to marry him, and as for whether she would marry him, he still had no idea. There's still time. You have to hurry. You're the man, you have to think about it from all angles and take on the burden of a family. By the way, I'll transfer some more money to you, so you can pay more of the down payment and less of the monthly installments. That way, you'll have less pressure. You'll need money for marriage, renovations, and having children, and you should also save some for emergencies. Chen Sufan hung up the phone without waiting for Li Dong to say anything after she finished talking. She wanted to go tell Li's father the news, because it's better to share happiness than to keep it to yourself. Looking at the disconnected phone, Li Dong let out a bitter smile. He was a big man, but he was not as decisive as his mother. Since they already had a child, buying a house, getting married, and getting a certificate was just a matter of time. If you don't take the initiative as a man, are you waiting for someone like Teacher Shui, a woman, to take the initiative? Forget about online car hailing services, it's better to just wander around the Polytechnic University area and see if there are any suitable listings. When he arrived at the nearest real estate agency, Li Dong just entered the lobby when a property consultant warmly greeted him. Hello sir, what property information do you need? Well, is there any property near the Polytechnic University, within a 1-kilometer radius, with an area of about 150 square meters, that was just built in the past 2 or 3 years? Li Dong asked with a smile. He couldn't wait for uncompleted properties, only completed properties that had already been delivered would do, so that he could start decorating straight away. Please wait a moment, sir. Have a drink of water while I help you. The property consultant sat in front of the computer searching for property information. After about 3 minutes, the property consultant said with a smile, Hello, sir. There is a community called on the water 1 kilometer east of the Polytechnic University that was delivered just 3 years ago. How much is the 156 square meter one? Li Dong asked with a smile. This is the perfect size, not too big and not too small, and it's a bare shell, so you can decorate and furnish it according to your own ideas and wishes. Hello sir, the total price is 5.46 million. And this house comes with a parking space, which can be sold at half price. The property consultant said enthusiastically. 1 square meter is equivalent to 37,000 yuan, which is considered the normal market price. It's a bit expensive, 35,000 yuan per square meter is more like it. Li Dong frowned, saying that you have to bargain, and a little bit off is a little bit off. Besides, the price cut is definitely not just a little bit, but tens of thousands of dollars. I'm afraid that won't work, sir. This neighborhood is in a good location, with convenient transportation. It's just a few hundred meters from the subway station, and there's a big shopping mall not far away. There's also a public kindergarten, elementary school, and junior high school. The price is already very reasonable, the real estate agent said. After a lot of arguing, Li Dong's mouth got dry, and in the end, he cut the price to 5.4 million yuan, with a free parking space. If the price was lower, the owner wouldn't sell. In the middle, Li Dong went to consult with 2 other real estate agencies. Either the housing was unsuitable or the price was unsuitable. In the end, after going around in circles, he still found that the first one was the most suitable. It was almost noon when Li Dong's mother transferred over 1.3 million yuan. 1 million was the down payment and 300,000 was for the renovations. Chapter 13, Marriage Proposal. On August 15, Li Dong came out after delivering breakfast to Xuejeqi as usual. After running a few online car hailing jobs, he went directly to the mall to pick up his car. "Hello sir, how can I help you?" the salesperson asked enthusiastically. "I want to propose. Do you have any recommended gold rings that are more novel and fashionable?" Li Dong asked with a smile. He had already received the property ownership certificate yesterday, and although he had since become a 30-year slave to his mortgage, he wasn't worried about the pressure of repayments at all. At the rate he makes money, he can make an early repayment every 6 months, at least 500,000 yuan at a time, and pay it off in less than 3 or 4 years. Now that he has a house, he has the foundation of a home, so proposing to his girlfriend should be on the agenda. "Sir, these 3 rings with 3-dimensional reliefs are the most popular. Look, this ring has the letter L for love, this one is shaped like a gold hoop, and this one is shaped like a rose." The salesperson explained in detail and also explained to Li Dong the meaning of each ring. "I'll take this one, the one with the rose," Li Dong said after carefully comparing the 3 rings. "Okay, sir, this solid gold ring contains 9 grams of gold and sells for 4,576 yuan," the salesperson said. "Okay, pack it up for me. And recommend some bracelets and necklaces for me," Li Dong said. "Okay, sir, please come this way," the salesman said enthusiastically, his heart filled with joy. In the end, after careful selection, Li Dong chose a pair of phoenix bracelets for 29,800 yuan and a classic necklace for 5,670 yuan. With the jewelry in hand, Li Dong went to the decoration company again to learn about the decoration plan and price. Because he didn't know anything about this, he couldn't make up his mind after looking at it for a long time, so he simply took a few decoration cases that he thought were okay and prepared to go back and discuss them with Xuejeqi. Li Dong came back at noon, and as soon as he opened the door, he saw Xuejeqi lying on the sofa watching TV. "You're back?" Xuejeqi asked with a smile. After spending almost a week together, she could see that Li Dong was gentle and caring. He was a good cook, careful and conscientious with household chores, and hard-working and capable in his career. These qualities made her feel that he was hard to come by. "Well, you must be starving, right?" Li Dong asked with a smile. After washing his hands, he didn't go straight to the kitchen to cook, but sat down next to Xuejeqi. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" Seeing Li Dong staring at her, Xuejeqi asked doubtfully. "Well, yes, there is a woman flower," Li Dong said with a smile. "You've learned to be glib, haven't you?" Xuejeqi said, taken aback. Perhaps due to their previous status, Li Dong was still relatively reserved when speaking and acting in front of her, and she was still a little uncomfortable with this sudden change. "Jeqi, I've carefully and seriously considered our situation over the past few days, and I think I should be more proactive and take on more responsibility," Li Dong said to Xuejeqi, looking at her. This was the first time he had called her by her name. However, Xuejeqi didn't care about the name, but was stunned by Li Dong's words and didn't quite understand. "This is a house I just bought, near the Polytechnic University. Although there is a mortgage, my current income is enough to pay it off, and the rest is also enough for you and the baby to live a good life." Li Dong took out a red notebook and handed it to Xuejeqi. Stunned, Xuejeqi took the property ownership certificate and opened it to look at it. The market price of a 3-bedroom apartment in Shuyafang is 5 to 6 million yuan. Here are a few decoration plans I got back from the decoration company. I don't know much about this either, so take a look and see if you like any of them, or if you have any ideas, you can tell the designers and have them redesign a plan. Li Dong took out another decoration design plan and handed it to Xuejeqi. Seeing that Xuejeqi had not said anything, Li Dong felt a bit unsure, because this was a bit different from the scenario he had previously imagined. But now the arrow was on the string and he had to act, so he did not play by the rules. He took out a red jewelry box, took out a ring, and on one knee, in the surprised eyes of Shwejechi, he said sincerely, "Jechi, marry me. I am confident in becoming a good husband and a good father. I want to be united with you as a real husband and wife. I want to spend my life with you. I asked my mother to mail me my household registration book. I want to get a certificate with you and marry you as my wife." Shwejechi never said a word. It wasn't that she didn't react, but that she was shocked by Li Dong's speed of action. 2 days ago, she asked Li Dong what his plans were for the future, meaning she wanted to see if Li Dong had considered their future together. At the time, Li Dong's answer made her very happy, but buying a house, proposing, and getting married all seemed to her like things that would take time to prepare. She had been speculating for the past 2 days when Li Dong would propose to her, when he would discuss buying a house with her, and when they would discuss meeting each other's parents. She never expected that on this Chinese Valentine's Day, Li Dong would give her such a big surprise. She was still thinking about it when Li Dong left the house in the morning, wondering if Li Dong knew that today was Chinese Valentine's Day. She never expected that Li Dong would spring such a big surprise on her without saying a word. She was so surprised that she didn't know what to do, and her excitement was beyond words, but she was at a loss for words. "Jechi, will you marry me?" Li Dong asked again, his nervous heart about to jump out of his chest. "Ah." Shwejechi nodded excitedly, trying hard to control her emotions and not let herself cry. Although the proposal ceremony was slightly simple, the scene was not carefully arranged, and there were no family and friends from both sides to witness it, but none of that mattered. What mattered was whether the person proposing really cared about you. "Are you really willing to marry me?" Li Dong asked excitedly, his voice trembling. With the other hand, he squeezed his thigh hard to calm himself down and remind himself that this was not a dream. "Yes." Shwejechi nodded and held out her left hand. Li Dong excitedly put the ring on Shwejechi's left ring finger, and his hand holding the ring was trembling. Looking at Li Dong's excited face, Shwejechi's heart warmed. Although she didn't know what the future would be like, she was at least happy in this moment. "Shwejechi, I also give these to you as our token of love." Li Dong took out 2 small boxes from his pocket and handed them to Shwejechi. "What are these?" Shwejechi asked with a smile. "You'll know when you open it," Li Dong said with a smile. "Bracelets and necklaces?" Shwejechi looked at the boxes and then at Li Dong. "Well, I didn't know what style you liked, so the salesperson said these were the best-selling ones and girls liked them the most, so I bought them." Li Dong said, scratching his head sheepishly. "I really like them." "Put the necklace on for me," Shwejechi said with a smile. Okay." Li Dong answered excitedly, picked up the necklace, went behind Shwejechi, and carefully put it on the pretty girl. The long, white neck, matched with the golden necklace, looked so good and charming in Li Dong's eyes. Chapter 14, Getting the License. "Does it look good?" Shwejechi asked. "It looks good, it looks so good, it looks better than the big stars on TV." Li Dong said with a silly grin. "Silly." Shwejechi said with a smile, pursing her lips. "Heh, silly people have silly blessings, then I'll go cook." Li Dong said happily, and went to the kitchen to get busy. Watching Li Dong humming a song while cooking, Shwejechi smiled, "What a treasure boy. Is this what a brother-sister relationship feels like?" Then she looked down at the renovation plan in her hands, began to look at it seriously, imagining and looking forward to the appearance of their new home. "Dinner is ready." After about half an hour, Li Dong came over with a plate and said, "Braised fish, fish head tofu soup, spinach and egg pancake, nutritious and rich in nutrients. In the morning it was shrimp and egg soup and 5-grain soy milk, and last night it was millet, yam and red date porridge, and pan-fried pork tenderloin. It smells so good. How do you think of so many different dishes every day?" Shwejechi asked with a smile. If it were her, she couldn't even think of these dishes, let alone cook them. "I downloaded a Mayu app, and there are recommended recipes for each week of pregnancy. I just followed that recipe," Li Dong said with a smile. He has never been a father before and has no experience taking care of a pregnant woman, so how could he know just by looking up information online? But nowadays, with the development of the internet, you can easily find any information you want online. "Really? I haven't even paid attention to it." Shwejechi playfully stuck out her tongue, feeling that even a little man like Li Dong had more things to consider than she did. "It's okay, I'm paying attention to it. The latest prenatal checkup won't be until the 12th week, when we go for the NT scan. After that, we can start building the baby's file," Li Dong said with a smile. I'll make a note of that. By then, it'll already be the start of the school year, and I'm afraid I'll be too busy to remember. Shwejechi picked up her phone and went to the calendar to make a mark. College will start in half a month, and she will have to go to class then. No need to remember, I have set the alarm clock, it will remind me a day in advance. Li Dong pointed at his phone and said. Shwejechi nodded with a smile, happy that Li Dong was so considerate. After finishing eating, and after Li Dong had finished his busy work, Shwejechi suddenly asked, "Are you going to run an online car hailing service this afternoon?" "Not in the afternoon. I'll go there at 3 or 4 o'clock to prepare the skewers for the evening," Li Dong said. "Business is getting better and better, and every night more and more skewers are consumed. He has to spend more time preparing them, so he basically can't run in the afternoon anymore. He just runs for a few hours in the morning every day, earning 100 or 200 yuan, which is enough for the day's expenses." "Then let's go get the license in the afternoon?" Shwejechi suddenly said. "Ha?" Li Dong was stunned for a moment. "If you don't want to, that's fine," Shwejechi said deliberately. "I'm willing, 100 times willing. My family already knows about us. My parents are waiting for news from me and are preparing to come over, but what about your aunt and uncle?" Li Dong was quite excited at first, but he didn't expect that just after he had successfully proposed, the two of them could get their marriage certificate. This happiness came too suddenly. But then he thought about what attitude Shwejechi's parents would have, and whether they would approve of the two of them being together. Suddenly, his heart began to worry again. From the time they had spent together over the past few days, he knew that Shwejechi's family lived in the neighboring city of Tianhai. His father was a senior engineer at a large state-owned enterprise, and his mother was a researcher at a national research institute. It was a proper family of senior intellectuals. However, Shwejechi's parents were usually too busy with work and often traveled for business, so they had not spent much time with their child growing up. "What if they don't agree? Will you give up then?" Shwejechi said playfully as she looked at Li Dong. "How is that possible? No one can stop me from marrying you." Li Dong blushed and stiffened his neck, saying, "That's it," Shwejechi said with a smile. Although her parents are both highly educated and her family's situation is better than Li Dong's, she has to be the one to decide on her own happiness. Whether a marriage is happy or not has no significant positive correlation with how much money the family has in the bank. Marriage needs to be run and maintained by the two people together. No matter how much money there is in the family, how big the house is, and how luxurious the car is, if the husband and wife have different dreams in the same bed, where is the happiness? Marriage does require a certain material foundation. After all, you can't live on wind and clouds, can you? But Li Dong's current demonstrated ability to make money is enough to provide a stable living environment for her and the baby to be born. Besides, she is not a freeloader. Her own income is not small either, and it is enough for the family to live on. At exactly 2 p.m., Li Dong and Shwejechi arrived at the marriage registration window of the Civil Affairs Bureau in the Administrative Services Hall. Today is Qixi Festival, and there are about 6 or 7 newlywed couples registering for marriage. Most of the couples' faces are filled with happy smiles, and they are full of expectations for the future. However, there were at least a dozen couples waiting in line at the divorce window next door. Most of the men's faces showed no expression, while some of the women's faces had a sense of relief, wondering what kind of misfortune marriage had brought them. After waiting for about 20 minutes, it was finally Li Dong's turn. He submitted his ID card and household registration book, filled out the application form, and took a group photo next to it. "You both came here of your own free will to register your marriage, right?" the staff asked with a smile, as is standard procedure. "Yes." Li Dong and Shwejechi looked at each other, then nodded with a smile. "Good, I wish you a happy marriage and a long life together. From now on, you are a legal couple," the staff member said with a smile, then handed the 2 small red books to Li Dong and Shwejechi. "Thank you," Li Dong said with a smile. From the time they left the Civil Affairs Bureau until they were in the car, Li Dong kept looking at the marriage certificate, repeatedly reading the content of that one page, and giggling while he did. "Li Dong, are you crazy?" Shwejechi felt a little amused looking at Li Dong's expression, but at the same time she was also a little moved. "Well, yes, I'm happy, I'm almost crazy with happiness," Li Dong said with a smile. "From now on I'll have a wife, I've got a family." "You look like an idiot, let's go back, you still need to prepare the things for the night market, right?" Shwejechi said with a smile. "Okay, I'll take you back first." Li Dong laughed like a fool, steering the wheel while his mouth curved up at the corners of his mouth. I'll help you with it, that way it'll be faster. Shuijuchi said as she got out of the car. She used to buy kebabs to eat too, and in her spare time she had made them with friends, at home or in the wild, but the taste was generally mediocre, so she rarely made them herself afterwards. No, you're pregnant now, how can I let you do these manual tasks? I can do it myself. Li Dong said with a smile. Chapter 15, The Boss's Wife. I can go watch you make the skewers, can't I? I'm curious to see how they're made. Shuijuchi said with a smile. Of course you can just watch, but we agreed you couldn't help. Li Dong said with a smile, and led Shuijuchi to the old teacher's housing estate. They had just got out of the car and were taking a few steps when they suddenly bumped into an acquaintance. Teacher Shui, who is this? A middle-aged woman with a kind face asked with a smile, seeing Shuijuchi holding hands with a strange man. Who at the Polytechnic University didn't know the name Shuijuchi? Many people had been indifferent to the beautiful woman who had been courted by so many men, but now she had a boyfriend. How sad it would be if the group of male teachers knew about it. Teacher Zhong, this is my husband Li Dong. Shuijuchi smiled and admitted graciously. You're married? Why didn't you tell us? We were waiting to drink your wedding wine. Teacher Zhong asked in surprise. We haven't even had a banquet yet, we just got our marriage certificate. Shuijuchi said with a smile. This teacher Zhong was in the same college as her and was an old professor, highly respected and very caring towards young teachers like them. Congratulations to you first, then you go ahead and get busy, we'll have a good chat when school starts. Teacher Zhong said with a smile, then glanced at Li Dong again, feeling that he looked familiar but couldn't say who he was. When they arrived at Unit 1, Building 6, Room 201, Shuijuchi smelled a fragrance of chili oil as soon as she entered the door. She likes chili, and always asks Li Dong to put some in when cooking, otherwise she feels that the food is tasteless. This is for making gluten, this is for making beer, and this is for skewers. Li Dong introduced the various things in the room to Shuijuchi. Can you grill some gluten for me to eat tonight? Shuijuchi asked, looking at Li Dong. She had mentioned it the other day, but Li Dong had said that she had just become pregnant and it would be better if she didn't eat foods like barbecued food. Okay, then just eat a little bit. Li Dong said with a smile, and then began to sit there and skewer the food. Li Dong's technique was very skilled, and his movements were fast. He chatted while doing his work. Shuijuchi just sat there watching Li Dong busy himself, feeling that Li Dong was not just doing simple skewering, but was working hard for the happiness of the two of them. At 6 p.m., Li Dong's barbecue stall opened on time, and customers were already waiting. Boss, you're finally here, I've been waiting for you so long that the flowers have withered, a young girl said with a smile. Really? Then I'll give you a skewer of barbecue later, Li Dong said with a smile. Shuijuchi sat inside the stall, watching Li Dong prepare the food. Try it and see how it tastes, I haven't added much seasoning, Li Dong said, handing Shuijuchi a few skewers of grilled gluten. Shuijuchi nodded, then took a bite of the grilled gluten. It was just the right texture, chewy and soft at the same time, and the taste was great. It was the best grilled gluten she had ever tasted. No wonder Li Dong's business was so good. She had previously thought that Li Dong was just bragging, but now it seemed that wasn't the case. Boss, 10 skewers of grilled gluten and 10 skewers of grilled meat, and 2 skewers of big kidneys, and a liter of dark beer. A couple who came in often said. Okay, just a moment. Li Dong said with a smile, and then started bustling about. Hey, boss, why are there 2 extra skewers of grilled meat? They're on the house, thank you for always supporting my business. Li Dong grinned, in a good mood today, so he decided to give something back to his customers. Thank you, boss. Shuijuchi, who was sitting inside the restaurant, couldn't help but smile when she heard Li Dong's words. She knew that the guy was happy, but she was more impressed by his marketing tactics. A little favor can often make most ordinary people feel good about you, increasing the probability of repeat customers, thereby maintaining the greatest degree of stability in your business. Handsome guy, 2 liters of fruit beer, 20 skewers of grilled gluten, 10 skewers of grilled meat, 10 skewers of plum tendons, 1 grilled eggplant, 1 serving of enoki mushrooms, 1 serving of grilled leeks, and 1 serving of tofu in foil. 3 girls walked over and said, Okay, the skewers will be ready soon. I'll bring the fruit beer over to you first. Li Dong said with a smile. Hey, handsome, we asked for 2 liters, but you gave us 3. One of the girls asked in confusion. It's a gift, to thank you for your continued support of my business. Li Dong said with a smile. These are all his regular customers who often come to patronize his business. Handsome man, that's generous, so give us 10 more skewers of grilled gluten and 3 more skewers of grilled leeks, with lots of chili. The girl said with a smile. All the customers who came for barbecue today were given more or less something by Li Dong, ranging from a skewer of grilled gluten to 2 liters of beer. Even if some were new faces who came for the first time, Li Dong gave them the same thing. Are you tired, my daughter-in-law? Why don't you go home and rest first? Taking a break, Li Dong came over and asked with concern. No, I've been sitting here the whole time. It's interesting to watch you go about your business, but it's a pity I can't help. Xue Jieqi shrugged. Since the stall opened at 6 o'clock, Li Dong had not had a single moment to relax. Often, the kebabs ordered by the previous customer were not even ready when the next customer arrived. No matter how busy Li Dong was, he always treated every customer with a smile, a gentle tone and a kind attitude, which made people feel very comfortable. Together with the kebabs and drinks that Li Dong gave away, the customers felt like they were being treated specially, and many of them ordered additional kebabs at the last minute. You're the boss's wife, how can the boss's wife work? If you get bored, I'll give you a big job. I don't know if you can handle it. Li Dong said with a smile. What big job? I don't think I can do manual labor, and mental work is hard enough right now. Xue Jieqi teased. This is the information I collect. Each order has a breakdown of the customer's meal choices. Help me calculate the average price per customer. Li Dong handed Xue Jieqi a small cash register and smiled. I'll give it a try, but don't yell at me if I get it wrong. Xue Jieqi smiled. I won't. You're the boss, and I work for you. You're the one who gets to yell at me, not the other way around. Li Dong said. You're so cheeky. Xue Jieqi said with a smile, amused by Li Dong's address of her as the boss's wife. Looking at the small shop, Li Dong kept busy in the front while she sat leisurely in the back, just like the boss's wife, while Li Dong was like an employee. This order is 46 yuan, this order is 20 yuan, this order is 38 yuan, this order is 90 yuan, this order is 66 yuan. There's also the takeaway list. In just a short while, 4 delivery boys came to pick up the kebabs and beer. Takeaway orders are generally more expensive, basically all 50 or 60 yuan and up. There's also the high price of the beer and plum drink order, because a liter of beer is already 20 yuan, and a few kebabs are 50 or 60 yuan, or 80 yuan. Chapter 16, Calling Her Husband. It was almost 10 o'clock at night, and basically all the skewers had been sold. Li Dong rubbed his sore waist and walked into the house, smiling and asking, how's it going? Have you finished counting? The average customer order is 46 yuan. Gluten and grilled meat are the most popular items, and we've sold out of wine. Xue Jieqi smiled, her face full of a happy smile, as if she was waiting for someone to praise her. Awesome. I thought you were going to cry because you couldn't do the math, Li Dong teased. It's said that pregnancy makes you stupid for 3 years, but it doesn't seem to be the case with Xue Jieqi. I'm not a child. But I've observed that our business is the best on the whole street, and the other one is a good business selling Odin. The rest of the shops are more or less the same. Xue Jieqi went out for a stroll in the middle and took a complete look around the food street, and also bought a few snacks to try. Some of them really tasted good, while others were just so-so. When I was calculating the average spending per customer, I didn't notice anything at first, but the further I got, the more surprised I was, because the turnover was so high. In just one night, Li Dong made more than 4,800 yuan. A small business that she didn't care much about before turned out to be so profitable. Of course, the main reason is that Li Dong's cooking and service are good, which has resulted in many repeat customers. And when repeat customers bring their friends along, they gradually become repeat customers as well. In the evening, when Li Dong was selling skewers, many people joked with Li Dong, showing that they were familiar with each other. After closing the stall, Li Dong sent Xue Jieqi home. After settling in, he habitually prepared to return to the teacher's community. Li Dong, you can sleep here tonight. Xue Jieqi blushed and said. The two of them had already received their marriage certificates, and it would be quite funny for them to live separately, which would not be conducive to maintaining their relationship. Since they plan to be together, they should start with their daily lives. Heh, okay. Li Dong was not pretentious, and he climbed right up the ladder. In case Xue Jieqi regretted it later, he would still suffer. Xue Jieqi went to wash up first, and Li Dong went to wash up after she was done. When Li Dong came out, He went to the second bedroom on his own initiative, but when he saw that the bed and everything else were not made, he knocked on the door to ask Shwejechi where the bedding was. Shwejechi's words almost made Li Dong jump with excitement. I don't have any extra bedding here either, so just sleep here. Shwejechi blushed and lied, afraid to look at Li Dong's eyes. In fact, how could there be only one bed in a room? She had just been debating whether to sleep in separate rooms at first and then gradually transition to sleeping together. But after thinking about it, she felt that there was no need to go to all that trouble. Now that she was pregnant, Li Dong wouldn't be able to do anything out of the ordinary. In addition, she would be able to get a better understanding of Li Dong's character. After all, isn't the person closest to you the one who knows you best? Okay, Li Dong said with a smile, holding back his excitement. The two lay together on the bed. Shwejechi was too shy to look at Li Dong and pretended to close her eyes, but she was actually too nervous. Li Dong was the same. This was the second time he had lain in bed with Shwejechi. The beauty was close at hand, and his eyes were burning. Let's turn off the lights and go to sleep, Shwejechi whispered. Okay. Li Dong reached over and turned off the bedside lamp, then looked at Shwejechi sideways without saying a word, just quietly watching her. After a few minutes, she heard Shwejechi say, "Why aren't you sleeping?" "I can't sleep, so I just want to keep looking at you." "Go to sleep, don't mind me," Li Dong said with a smile. Shwejechi closed her eyes and tried not to think about anything, and before she knew it, she fell asleep. She slept soundly that night, until dawn. It was only when she woke up that she realized she was lying in Li Dong's arms. She opened her eyes quietly and found that Li Dong seemed to still be asleep. She gently moved Li Dong's arm away, but woke him up. She was so scared that she quickly closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. In fact, Li Dong had already woken up long ago. He had just seen Shwejechi's little actions in his eyes, and she was really cute and lovely. "Since you're so playful, I'll tease you," Li Dong whispered softly with his eyes closed, as if he were talking in his sleep. "Shwejechi, I like you, I really like you, I really like you." Hearing Li Dong's ramblings, Shwejechi smiled at the corner of her mouth, with a happy look on her face. "Can I call you my wife in the future, and can you call me your husband?" Li Dong continued to murmur. "Okay." Shwejechi looked at Li Dong and smiled, and if she hadn't seen the smile on the corner of his mouth, she would have almost thought he was really talking in his sleep. "This bad guy, he's actually playing mind games with me." "Hey, you're awake, wife?" Li Dong was still pretending to know nothing and attempting to muddle through. Shwejechi looked at Li Dong with a smile that was half smile. "Hey, my dear wife, good morning," Li Dong said with a smile, not feeling embarrassed at all. "Good morning, my dear friend Li Dong," Shwejechi said with a smile. Didn't we agree to call each other husband and wife?" Li Dong asked with a look of grievance. "Did we?" Shwejechi said with an innocent expression. "Aha!" Li Dong nodded suddenly. "If we don't, it's your fault for teasing me just now," Shwejechi said with a pout, acting like a spoiled child. Li Dong had never seen such a cute look before. Oh my, the cold goddess Shwejechi actually had such a cute side. So, in Shwejechi's surprised eyes, Li Dong directly leaned in and kissed her red lips. Perhaps it was too surprising, causing Shwejechi to forget to push Li Dong away, and she only reacted after being kissed many times by Li Dong. "Ouch, honey, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts," said Li Dong, sticking out his tongue and looking aggrieved. "Well, who told you to stick out your tongue?" Shwejechi said, blushing and flustered. "This guy is not honest at all. Not only did he force a kiss on me, but he also spat in my mouth and bit you. This was my first kiss with my mind clear, and it's gone like that. Biting you is the least of it. Hey, honey, I'm going to cook dinner, you lie down for a while." Li Dong, having gotten what he wanted, stopped being nice and quickly got up to go to work. Seeing Li Dong running away, Shwejechi couldn't help but laugh. This guy is quite cute. Half an hour later, a nutritious breakfast was ready. Pumpkin and red date millet porridge, winter melon pancakes, shrimp and egg pancakes, and stir-fried spinach with pig's blood. "I feel like I've gained weight this week. If I keep eating like this, I'll definitely be overweight later," Shwejechi said worriedly while devouring the food. Nutrition must be ensured, but the main thing is that you don't have to go to class during the holidays, and your daily activity level is too low. "It will be fine when school starts in 2 weeks, Li Dong said. "It's all your fault for cooking so well, and I always eat too much," Shwejechi said coquettishly. "That's because you don't mind my cooking. Someone else might not be able to eat it because they don't like it," Li Dong said. Chapter 17, Shue's mother is here. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Li Dong left the house on time to catch a ride-hailing car. For a better life in the future, he must work hard. He needs bread and milk. There are 100 things to worry about in a poor marriage, and this is no joke. There are a lot of trivial matters and problems in life, and most of them are caused by money. If you don't lack money, you can reduce a lot of conflicts and unnecessary arguments. For example, your wife hasn't bought a bag for a long time, and she has set her eyes on a 10,000 yuan bag. She really wants it, but you only earn 10,000 yuan a month after working from morning till night. Should you buy it? Whether you buy it or not, at least one person will be unhappy, and it has nothing to do with right or wrong. Another example is your wife wants to send your child to a private school, where the quality of teaching is good and it will help your child's learning and future development. But the tuition is so expensive, it costs 30,000 to 40,000 yuan a year, and you can't earn 100,000 yuan a year even if you work really hard. Should you let your child go to a private school? If you do, the family will have to eat dirt for several years. If you don't, your wife and child may blame you for this forever. But if you don't have money problems, these problems are not problems at all. After Li Dong left, Shuejuchi looked at her phone for a while, looking indecisive. She picked it up and put it down again and again, finally taking it in her hand and dialing a number. After a few rings, the phone was quickly answered. "Mom, are you busy?" Shuejuchi said with courage. "What's wrong? What's the matter?" Shue's mother Zhang Xia asked. "Mom, I have something I want to tell you, so get ready." Shuejuchi then told her about herself and Li Dong, including the fact that they had already gotten married and were living together. Zhang Xia, who was reading an analysis of materials on the other end of the line, dropped her pen in surprise. Unmarried and pregnant? This was something her precious daughter would do. And now the two of them had secretly gotten married, acting first and asking permission later. Although times have changed and people's minds are more open than before, it is not uncommon for couples to cohabit without getting married, get pregnant without getting married, or even have an abortion. But this is different when it happens to your own daughter. Just when summer vacation started, my daughter said she would not come home until she had published her paper, and after the paper was published, she said she wanted to take a few days off before going back. Now she has suddenly sprung this big surprise on me. Wait, let's talk when we meet. Zhang Xia hung up the phone directly, then tried to calm herself down. Xiajia, are you okay? A colleague from the same office asked with concern. I'm fine, I'll go first. Take care of anything for me. Zhang Xia waved her hand. Her daughter had only said the main points on the phone, and there was too much information, so she needed to digest it properly. 10 minutes later, Zhang Xia arrived at the underground parking lot, got into her car and drove off at full throttle towards Tianqing City. Mom is coming? Shuejuchi expected this to happen. After all, the two sides are not far apart, and with such a big change happening on her side, her mother must be very worried and still be there. Shuejuchi quickly called Li Dong to let him be prepared and to hurry back. Li Dong, who had received his daughter-in-law's call, was dropping off a passenger. He hurriedly dropped off the passenger and then immediately returned to the car. All the way, Li Dong was thinking about what he should say when he met his mother-in-law later, so as to minimize the incident and resolve the problem as calmly as possible. After all, they would be family in the future, and it would be best to avoid any conflicts, otherwise Shuejuchi would definitely suffer. When he got home, Shuejuchi was lying on the bed. Recently, she had been suffering from fatigue. Daughter-in-law, how long until your mother-in-law arrives? Li Dong asked with a smile. Soon, about half an hour, if we take the highway. Shuejuchi looked at the clock and said. Then I'll go wash some fruit and clean up the house a bit, so your mother-in-law doesn't think it's a mess. Li Dong said with a smile. Aren't you nervous? Shuejuchi asked curiously. I'm nervous, my calves are trembling a little, and when I came back, I felt a little dizzy when I stepped on the brakes. Li Dong said with a smile. Then how can you still be giggling and joking around, feeling like nothing is wrong? Shuejuchi said. In her opinion, the union of the two was not a normal situation, and now her mother had come to the door to lecture them. Li Dong should at least appear a little flustered, not as calm as he was. Because I can't help it. The rice is already cooked, and I've already done it without consulting you. I can only obediently welcome the storm of my mother-in-law. Li Dong shrugged helplessly. That's a pretty good attitude. Li Dong's words made Shuejuchi laugh, because he had no choice, so he could only smile. Li Dong's good attitude made her feel a little better about her otherwise anxious mood. Yes, since there is no way to avoid it, let's face it together. No matter what my mother says, the two of us will be together, and it's useless to persuade anyone. In that case, what's there to worry about? After about 20 minutes, Li Dong had finished washing the fruit and tidied up the house a bit. He was just about to sit down and rest when the doorbell rang. Shuejiachi opened the door and saw a middle-aged fashionable woman with short hair, gold-rimmed glasses, jeans, and a sweater. Mom, was there any traffic on the way? Shuejiachi asked with a smile. There was no traffic, but my heart is a bit blocked. Zheng Xia looked at her daughter, who looked a bit like her, with a disappointed expression. Shuejiachi was at a loss for words, and then Li Dong spoke with a smile. Hello, Auntie, I'm Li Dong. Please sit down, I'll get you a glass of water. Looking at Li Dong, Zhang Xia's first impression was that the child looked quite young. Although he wasn't the handsome type, his whole spirit was very good, giving a feeling of vitality and energy. Come into the room with me, I have something to ask you. Zhang Xia said to Shuejiachi. Oh. Shuejiachi followed her mother into the bedroom and saw Li Dong looking at her with a concerned expression, waving his hand to indicate that she shouldn't worry. Tell me, what's going on? Zhang Xia asked, sitting on the bed and looking at her daughter. Shuejiachi sat opposite her mother and told her everything that had happened with Li Dong. What can I say about you? You can't even see any of the many good young men out there, and now you've chosen one of your students, not to mention one who doesn't even have a proper job. How is he going to guarantee the quality of life for you and the baby in the future? Zhang Xia said sternly. Don't tell me about hard work and struggle, and all that kind of stuff. If hard work could guarantee a life of luxury, then everyone would be living like a king. Mom's not saying you have to find a rich second-generation official as a partner, but at the very least you have to find someone who can provide for you for the rest of your life, right? When you want to buy clothes, bags, and cosmetics, you don't have to think about the price when you want to go out and have fun, you don't have to think about the balance on your bank card when you want to go on a trip, you don't have to think about your mortgage or car loan and just go with your suitcase. Chapter 18, Convincing the Mother-in-Law. Mom, although Li Dong's family is not rich, it is considered well off. 2 days ago, his mother just transferred some money to Li Dong to buy a house near the Polytechnic University, which is now being renovated. In addition, although Li Dong only operates a barbecue stand and drives a network car, his monthly income is not small at all, much higher than his peers, which is enough to support my and my child's living expenses in the future. And Li Dong is a very good cook. Right now, running the barbecue is just a transition. In 2 years, when he sees the right opportunity, he will open his own restaurant. His dream is to run a restaurant that is famous far and wide. Shuejiachi looked at her mother and said, Can he be good to you for the rest of your life? Being young means being immature. You are in the honeymoon period now, and he is submissive to you. But what about a few years from now? Zhang Xia asked again, but her tone had softened a little compared to just now. Mom, then what kind of man can I marry to ensure that he will be good to me for the rest of my life? Should I marry someone older or someone rich? Shuejiachi said, holding her mother's hand. Zhang Xia was stunned by her daughter's words. Yes, can finding someone from a suitable family background guarantee a happy life and marriage? There are now too many marriages that exist in name only, mostly because of career considerations or considerations for the children, and divorce proceedings have not been completed. Some have even divorced but just not left the family home. Happiness is like drinking water, you know best whether it is cold or hot. So what if he bullies you, hurts you, or treats you badly in the future? Zhang Xia sighed and asked. In fact, her heart had already softened. It wasn't just because of what her daughter had said about how good Li Dong was, but the light in her daughter's eyes when she spoke had made her heart soften. If she made things difficult for Li Dong today, not only would it not change the established facts, it would also make Li Dong resentful. This resentment would erupt at some point, and in the end, it would be her daughter who would suffer. If that really happened, her daughter was not the type to put up with it, and they would just get a divorce. Shuejiachi thought for a moment and said, Okay, remember what you said, and you call Li Dong in. Zhang Xia nodded helplessly, rubbed her eyebrows, and felt a mixture of emotions in her heart. Auntie, you called me. Li Dong didn't sit down directly after entering, but stood aside. Jiachi told me about what happened between the two of you. I want to ask, if you were me, what would you do now? Zhang Xia asked Li Dong as she looked at him. If this were my daughter, I would first be furious and heartbroken. After all, I have worked so hard to raise her, and now she has been taken by someone else. I definitely wouldn't be able to talk as calmly as you. Second, since it has already happened, I would ask my daughter what she thinks. If she insists on staying with that person, then I would go along with it for now. Otherwise, if something extreme happens, I would be too late to regret it. Finally, if my daughter doesn't do well in the future, I will tell her to get a divorce as soon as possible to avoid further losses, and do my best to fight for custody of the child. Li Dong quickly organized his words in his head, trying to express the thoughts and feelings of a mother at this moment, and put himself in her shoes. After listening to Li Dong's words, Zhang Xia felt slightly better, because this incident itself originated from an accident, which was out of her control, and was not carefully planned by Li Dong. Moreover, now that her daughter's heart is biased towards Li Dong, she is also worried that beating up the lovers will drive the mother and daughter apart, and even something bad will happen. Finally, although Li Dong does not have a stable job, his income is still acceptable, and he can provide a decent life for his daughter. As for happiness, outsiders cannot tell, only the person themselves know. I only have one thing to say, I hope you can treat Jechi with all your heart. If she does something wrong, it's because I, as her mother, haven't taught her well. Tell me, and I'll teach her. Zhang Xia glanced at her daughter and said seriously. Mom. Jechi looked at her mother with tear-filled eyes. She knew that her mother had already agreed to her marriage to Li Dong, whether she liked it or not. Don't worry, Auntie. There's no point in saying big words, just watch my actions from now on. Li Dong said. Zhang Xia nodded, feeling tired in her heart. She had worked so hard to raise her daughter, and now she had just casually found a man for her to marry. Since you have already obtained your marriage certificate, when are you planning to hold the wedding? The further along you get, the bigger your belly gets, and then you won't be able to wear a wedding dress, and it won't look good either. Zhang Xia asked, looking at the two of them. Li Dong and Jechi glanced at each other. They hadn't had time to discuss the wedding yet, mainly because they didn't know what attitude Jechi's family would have. Auntie, what do you think? Li Dong asked sincerely. Let's get it done as soon as possible. Jechi will start school again soon, so it's still in time while there's still time. The wedding is just a formality, and it doesn't need to be too lively, just to get together for the parents and relatives of both sides. What do you think? Zhang Xia said after thinking about it. Then let's do it according to what you think. I'll talk to my parents later, and we'll decide on the time and follow up arrangements for the wedding as soon as possible, and then we'll take some wedding photos in the next 2 days. Li Dong said. Okay, you guys figure out the details, and I'll talk to your father about it when I get back. Zhang Xia said to her daughter. Thanks, Mom. Jechi broke into a smile. Her father was a typical worker, who had doted on her since she was little. Although he had been less present due to work, it didn't mean that he didn't care about her, especially since it was her life's big event. What do you have to thank me for? As long as you are doing well, that is better than anything else. If you are not doing well, it is the path you have chosen for yourself. Don't come crying to me then, I won't comfort you. Zhang Xia said with a smile. Auntie, it's getting late, it's time for lunch. Please try my cooking this noon. Li Dong said with a smile. Still calling me auntie? Jechi said with a faint anger. Look at my stupid mouth, Mom. Li Dong laughed and gave his own mouth a light slap, saying. You two don't play double acts in front of me. If you have the heart to please me, you might as well think about how to live your lives well. Zhang Xia was happy in her heart, but her face remained expressionless. Yes, Mom is right, so I'll go cook dinner and you two can chat for a while. Li Dong smiled and exited the bedroom, leaving time and space for the two of them. Relieved, he felt that this hurdle with his mother-in-law had been overcome. The expected storm didn't come, and it must be that Jechi had said good things in front of her mother-in-law, or even made some kind of promise. Li Dong in the kitchen started to get busy, while the mother and daughter in the bedroom chatted. Chapter 19, Taking Wedding Photos. Mom, try this sweet and sour pork and give me your opinion. Jechi said that you like this dish more, and I don't know if it's to your liking. Li Dong said with a smile. Since there were only 3 of them, Li Dong had only made 4 dishes in one soup: sweet and sour pork ribs, steamed shrimp with garlic and vermicelli, pork with bamboo shoots, braised eggplant, and seaweed and white fungus soup with egg flour. Not bad. Zhang Xia tasted the sweet and sour pork ribs and found that the taste was not inferior to what she had eaten in a starred restaurant. It seems that her daughter was right. Li Dong is indeed very talented in cooking and has achieved something in cooking at such a young age. Mom, according to Jechi, you often eat in the canteen at work. Although there are many types of food, the taste is not as good as the food cooked in a small pot. Tianhai City and Tianqing City are next to each other. When you are not busy or on your day off, you can come to my house and I will cook you some home-cooked meals. You can give me some pointers, after all, you know Jechi's preferences best. Li Dong said with a smile. Zhang Xia glanced at her daughter and then at Li Dong. She knew exactly what was going on. All that talk about giving advice was just an excuse. He really just wanted to win her over. We'll talk about it later. Zhang Xia didn't say yes or no. She would wait and see how the two of them behaved. After finishing the meal, Zhang Xia didn't hang around because she still had work to do at the office. She drove straight back to Tianhai City. After tidying up the kitchen, Li Dong walked over and said, "Daughter-in-law, let's go take our wedding photos tomorrow morning, shall we?" "So soon?" Shuijuchi looked at Li Dong in surprise. Doesn't taking wedding photos involve choosing which studio to use first, then picking the location for the shoot, deciding how many outfits to prepare, how many people to have filming, and so on? I went for advice when I bought the ring the other day, and this is a package deal. Look, you can go tomorrow once you've chosen. Li Dong said with a smile. You've even thought about that? What if my mother doesn't agree? Won't your work be for nothing? Shuijuchi asked with a smile. There is a possibility that it will be a waste of time, but there is also a possibility that it will work. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, I have to fight for it. Li Dong looked at Shuijuchi and smiled. Let me see. Shuijuchi smiled and nodded, feeling relieved by Li Dong's attentiveness. She didn't really care about these formalities, but if Li Dong could consider them for her, she would of course be very happy. After careful comparison, the two finally chose a package for 28,888 yuan, which included 12 outfits, 8 indoor and outdoor locations, 260 retouched photos, 24 photo frames, 6 photo albums, and 6 pillows. Early the next morning, Li Dong and Shuijuchi arrived at the selected Love You Forever photography studio to begin the wedding photo shoot. Shuijuchi, in a white wedding dress, really amazed Li Dong when she first came out. Stunned? Shuijuchi was very pleased with Li Dong's reaction. A woman adorns herself for the one she loves. Well, how can there be such a beautiful person in the world? If you were born 300 years earlier, Emperor Qianlong would not have gone south. If you were born 1,000 years earlier, the Tang Emperor would not have loved Yuan. If you were born 3,000 years earlier, Lu Bu would not have flirted with Diaochan. Li Dong exclaimed in admiration. You're so talkative. Is it really that good looking? Shuijuchi blushed when she heard Li Dong's bold confession. I can put up with you being good looking, but you happen to be the way I like, so how can I put up with it? Li Dong said with a smile. You're so smooth talking. After saying that, I don't know what came to mind, and Shuijuchi's face turned red again. Last night when they went to bed, Li Dong said he wanted to hold her while they slept, and after thinking about it, Shuijuchi agreed. After a while, Li Dong started acting up, not only holding her and kissing her for a long time, but also trying to get inside her. She didn't know what she was thinking at the time, and just let him bully her without pushing him away. Okay, the two of you, look here. The photographer got down on the ground and designed the poses and movements for the two of them. Handsome guy and beautiful girl, make a kissing motion, just like the way you normally kiss. The photographer said with a smile. You want us to kiss? Shuijuchi asked shyly. Kissing at home is fine, but kissing in front of other people is always a bit embarrassing. Just keep your lips close together, it'll look like you're kissing. Li Dong explained with a smile. Okay then. Shuijuchi nodded, a bit of intimacy seemed quite nice, after all, they were shooting wedding photos, not ID photos. Good, not bad. The beautiful woman put her arms around the handsome guy's neck, making a look of adoration. The handsome guy gives her a princess carry. Yes, very good, just hold on a bit longer. The beautiful woman tugs on the handsome guy's tie, making an angry expression. Not angry enough, be more serious. Good, very good. The beautiful woman sits in the handsome guy's arms, their gazes locked in a deep gaze. Very good. As requested by the photographer, Shuijuchi and Li Dong kept on posing in various positions, one outfit after another, one scene after another. The shooting lasted from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and because Li Dong had to work in the evening, the couple had to shoot their wedding photos for 3 consecutive days. After this experience, the couple's relationship took a step forward. After all, they had made so many intimate gestures during the shooting, and they were more accepting of each other psychologically. While Li Dong and his wife were shooting their wedding photos, a small town in western Hunan province, more than 1,000 kilometers away, was also busy.
Are you sure this is your daughter-in-law? Li Xianjin asked, pointing at a photo on his phone.
Yes, my son just picked one and sent it over, Chen Sufan said with a smile, adding that she didn't believe it at first either. After all, a photo can be deceiving, and the difference between the two can be big or small. In the end, her son just made a video call, and she was convinced after looking at her face to face for a while that her daughter-in-law was really that beautiful, comparable to a movie star. No, she's even prettier than many movie stars.
How did such a beautiful daughter-in-law fall for our son? Li Xianjin asked in surprise. We're all adults and have been around, so we can see more clearly.
A mediocre man marrying a beautiful wife may not be a good thing, it could be a huge hidden danger for the future.
The ancients didn't say those things lightly. If you say that, I won't be happy. My son is so good, what's wrong with him finding a beautiful daughter-in-law? Do you have to find an ugly woman for your son to be happy? Chen Sufan said in a bad mood.
Her son being able to marry such a beautiful daughter-in-law is, in her opinion as a mother, a sign of her son's ability. If her son was not capable, no one would have looked at her son as a match for such a beautiful girl.
She is a university teacher, and her IQ is not much higher than the average person, right? Don't be so stubborn, that's not what I meant.
I'm just worried that my son won't be able to control her.
She has a good job, a better family background than ours, and they are not a good match, you know?
Li Xianjin said worriedly.
Chapter 20, Negotiating the Bride Price.
Women tend to view problems more emotionally, while men tend to view problems more rationally. Chen Sufan could only think about how proud she would be as a mother if her son found a beautiful and outstanding daughter-in-law.
Li Xianjin was more concerned about whether the couple would be able to live a happy and harmonious life in the future. After all, getting married out of love might be a decision made in a moment of passion, but life is about the daily grind of cooking, cleaning, shopping, and raising children. If the two of you don't share the same values, interests, and topics, it will be hard to make it last. Especially in today's society, couples get divorced like it's no big deal, taking marriage lightly and getting married and divorced quickly. What's the point of you thinking about it? Can you stop your son from getting married? If you can't, then don't think about it. You don't know what your son is like?
As for the daughter-in-law, although we haven't met, I think that as a university teacher, she is not a troublesome person, and she must also be a sensible girl who knows right from wrong,
Chen Sufan said with a smirk.
That sounds reasonable, so I'll start making preparations and make this wedding a beautiful one,
Li Xianjin said with a smile. A professional MC will take care of the details, so we just need to prepare the money, Chen Sufan said with a smile.
A few days ago, I envied my neighbor's son for bringing home a girlfriend, but then in the blink of an eye, her son surprised her with a big surprise. Not only did he have a girlfriend, he was even pregnant with her child.
So how much is the appropriate amount of the bride price?
The customary amounts here are 33,000, 66,000, 88,000, and some even give 99,000. The daughter-in-law here is from a big city, so I don't know how much they give there, Li Xianjin said with a tangled heart. Li's mother had given her son 1.3 million yuan to pay the down payment and decorate the house. He knew about this, and that buying a house was a serious matter, and that it was definitely not appropriate to keep renting. The two of them could save quite a bit of money a year, which was considered pretty good in a 4th or 5th tier city like theirs. But if they were compared to the 1st tier cities, it really wasn't much.
Then I'll ask my son. Chen Sufan was also unsure. What if the matter of the bride price made her daughter-in-law or her in-laws unhappy? Wouldn't that turn a good thing into a bad thing? If that's really the case, then borrow a little from relatives and friends.
This is a big event for your son, and as parents, you have to make it a beautiful one for him.
Just slowly pay back the debt later.
When Li's mother called, Li Dong and Shuejiachi had just finished taking their wedding photos and were having a cup of tea in a tea house.
Hey, Mom, I'm not sure about this either. I need to ask your daughter-in-law, Li Dong said with a smile, then looked over at Shuejiachi.
Okay, I'll give you an answer after I talk to her.
Don't worry, Mom,
Li Dong said with a smile before hanging up.
What did your aunt say?
Shuejiachi asked curiously. The two had grown closer over the past 2 days, and their relationship had slowly begun to change, which was a sign that they had begun to accept each other psychologically.
My mom asked how much you want for the bride price.
In our area, the custom is tens of thousands of yuan. I don't know what the custom is like in your family, Li Dong said with a smile. The bride price, there is no unified standard, it is also a token of the groom's sincerity. Shwejiachi said after thinking about it. Oh, this token of sincerity is a difficult one. If it's too much, I can't afford it, and if it's too little, it won't seem sincere. Li Dong teased. Oh, just follow the customs where you come from. We're the ones living the life, and whether it's good or not has nothing to do with the amount of the bride price. After all, the money will be used for our little family. Shwejiachi said with a smile. These were her true feelings. She was an only child, and she didn't have a younger brother to support her. Not only would she use the bride price for her new family, but her family would also contribute a significant amount of money as a dowry. Okay, then let's go with the highest amount. Li Dong smiled and replied, then sent a message to his mother. Dear, I think both the Chinese wedding dress and the Western wedding dress look good. How will you choose? Shwejiachi asked with a smile. When taking the wedding photos, there were both Chinese and Western styles. The wedding dress made Li Dong feel amazed, but the Chinese wedding dress made Li Dong feel shocked. It can be like that. You can wear a Western wedding dress at the wedding, and wear a Chinese wedding dress when you toast to your elders after the wedding. It's more convenient. Li Dong said with a smile. Hey, how come you're so smart? This arrangement is actually quite good. Shwejiachi said in surprise. I looked it up online too, how could I have come up with it myself if I hadn't experienced it? Li Dong said with a smile. The two were chatting when Shwejiachi's phone rang. Hello, at Yulai Tea Restaurant, table 6. Shwejiachi hung up the phone. Your best friend's here? Li Dong asked. She's parking the car, she'll be here in a minute. Shwejiachi nodded. In a moment, a fashionable beauty walked in, sat directly next to Shwejiachi, and stared hard at Li Dong. Hello, Miss Chi. Li Dong greeted with a smile. The visitor was none other than Miss Chi Xiaoxiao, who had taught Li Dong college English for a year. So it's you, Jiachi. When you told me your name, I was wondering if it was you. When I taught you before, I thought you were quite honest, although your English grades were average and you weren't very active in class. But now you've even won Jiachi's heart, you're a real catch. Chi Xiaoxiao teased with a smile. Fools have fool's luck, you're lucky. Li Dong said with a smile. I only have one best friend, so you have to treat Jiachi well, or else watch out for my fists. Chi Xiaoxiao threatened with a raised fist. She and Shwejiachi have been friends since childhood, and they were classmates in elementary school and high school. They went to university together, and then became university teachers together. At first, they even shared an apartment for a while, but then she fell in love and moved out to live with her boyfriend. It can be said that Chi Xiaoxiao and Shwejiachi are not blood sisters, but their relationship is no worse than that of real sisters. Plus, Chi Xiaoxiao's family is not short of money, so the two of them have always got along very well. That's a must. It's my responsibility and my honor to be good to Jiachi, Li Dong said. How was your trip abroad? Shwejiachi asked with a smile. At the end of July, Chi Xiaoxiao asked Shwejiachi to go traveling together, but Shwejiachi didn't go because she had to write her thesis. She had a great time, traveling all over the country, and all day long she was posting pictures of her adventures on her social media. She was either posting pictures of what she ate or what she did, and she was having a great time being single. How can you have fun by yourself? I thought you were concentrating on your thesis, and I thought it was hard being a good friend, so I even brought a suitcase full of local specialties to comfort your wounded heart, but it turns out you were happily dating someone else. Chi Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes and complained. Hey, is that the delicious food you posted on your WeChat moments? I don't care, what's mine is mine, and you're not leaving until you give it to me. Shwejiachi said with a smile. Today I plan to go to your house and sleep on the floor, and be the third wheel between you two. Chi Xiaoxiao said with a beaming smile, her teasing expression turning Shwejiachi's face red. At this time, Li Xianjin and Chen Sufan, who were discussing which relatives to invite to the wedding, fell into deep thought after seeing the message from Li Dong. Because Li Dong did not say the exact amount, he only said to follow their wishes. Li Xianjin and Chen Sufan looked at each other, and this wish was difficult for the two of them. No matter how much it is, it can be considered a wish, but can your wish satisfy the other person? Chapter 21, Going Back to the Old Hometown. There have been many couples who have broken up over the bride price. Some broke up before the wedding, and some broke up during the wedding, so Li Xianjin and his wife could not afford to be careless. After much thought, the couple decided to prepare more money, as a startup fund for their son and daughter-in-law's new home. Early in the morning on August 24th, Li Dong got dressed early and prepared to take Shwejechi back to his hometown, as the wedding would be held the next day.
Honey, let's go,
Shwejechi said with a smile as she came out of the house. The two of them first flew to the provincial capital of Hunan by plane, and then a car took them directly from the airport to their hometown.
Also accompanying them were Qi Xiaoxiao, Wang Xiaolei, and other attendants.
When they arrived at the airport waiting room, Wang Xiaolei was the first to greet them. "Hello, Teacher Xue and Teacher Qi."
"Hello, classmate Xiaolei," Qi Xiaoxiao said with a smile.
"Congratulations, groom, you've got the beautiful teacher." When Wang Xiaolei and his roommates learned that their good friend Li Dong was getting married, they were surprised and couldn't keep their mouths shut.
How did he get married so quickly?
They had all graduated as single people, but in the blink of an eye, he had found a girlfriend and then got married.
Everyone was feeling a mixture of emotions.
As the saying goes, they were afraid that their friend would lead a hard life, but also afraid that he would drive a Range Rover. When they learned that their friend was about to become a father, they were once again surprised and envious. It turned out that their friend was not driving a Range Rover, but a Mercedes-Benz AMG. When they learned that their friend's wife was their heartthrob, Ms. Shwejechi, they felt like 10,000 wild horses were galloping in their hearts.
"So, your good friend drives not a Mercedes AMG, but a Bugatti." "Exactly, you've been so quiet, and now that we see you again, we have to call you Grandpa, right?" Du Xingsan teased.
Shwejechi and Qi Xiaoxiao laughed beside them, covering their mouths.
"It's really good to be young, it's the time to be full of energy and vitality." "No, we have to call you that now.
We have already got our marriage certificate, and legally we are already a legal couple," Li Dong said smugly. It wasn't until early in the morning that Li Dong announced his marriage partner, leaving it a mystery until the end. Needless to say, the few people were shocked. After all, the marriage was so sudden, and the marriage partner was still the goddess in the hearts of the teachers and students of the whole school. But after the initial shock, they also sent their sincere blessings, happy that their good friend had found such a good match so quickly. After all, the goddess Xue and their hearts being able to be married off to their good friend was a beautiful story, and it was like fat water not flowing to outsiders' fields.
"Li Dong, you have to be nicer to our Miss Xue in the future, or we won't care about brotherly love," Chen teased.
"Don't worry, I'll take good care of your teacher Xue." Li Dong nodded with a smile.
The four of them had a pretty good time together during their 4 years at university.
Although they didn't know what the future held, and perhaps because of the passage of time and distance, their feelings might gradually fade, and they would eventually stop seeing each other and losing contact. At least for now, after graduation, they were still willing to maintain this friendship. "Let's go, it's time to board the plane," Li Dong said with a smile, as the announcement had already started on the loudspeaker.
After a long and bumpy journey, it was already 3 p.m. when they arrived in Shanxi City.
After settling Wang Xiaolei and the others in the hotel, Li Dong took Shwejechi back to their new home first. "My parents bought this house when I first went to college, planning for my future marriage. That's why they had it specially decorated when they bought it, so that I wouldn't have to worry about it when I moved in."
The new house was decorated by professionals. "Do you like it?" Li Dong asked, pointing at the flowers and plants in the room.
"It's quite nice, but it's only temporary, so a simple decoration will do." Shwejechi smiled as she sat on the sofa. The two of them chatted in the room, with Li Dong sharing interesting stories from his childhood with Shwejechi, so that she could get to know what his past had been like. After about half an hour, there was movement at the front door, and Chen Sufan and Li Jin came in. "Dad, Mom, this is my daughter-in-law Shwejechi," Li Dong said with a smile, and then introduced Shwejechi. "Jechi, this is my dad, this is my mom."
"Hello uncle, hello auntie."
Shwejechi blushed and stood up, shouting.
Good, you must have had a hard time coming all the way here, right Jechi? Sit down, don't stand, let's have a nice chat." Chen Sufan took Shwejechi's hand and said happily. "My daughter-in-law is really pretty, she is even prettier in person than in the photos.
Although she is 3 years older than my son, as the saying goes, the older woman, the better the wife. And she is older, so she knows how to take care of people. Fortunately, she is not too old now. If we wait any longer, she may not be able to travel far," Shwejechi said with a smile. "It is inconvenient to travel long distances.
When Li Donggang told me about the two of you, I wanted to go and see you, but Li Dong wouldn't let me, saying that I should wait. Today is the first time the two of us have formally met," Chen Sufan said. "In the future, after the baby is born and when he is old enough to travel, we will often come back to visit you and uncle." When uncle retires in a few years, don't open a restaurant anymore, or open a small restaurant in Tianjin City. We will rent you a house in Tianjin City, so that we can see each other often. Shui Zheqi said with a smile. Ouch, these words really hit Chen Sufan's heart. She had been struggling with this matter before. She has only one son, Li Dong, and now that he is settled far away, it is such a long distance and a pain to travel back and forth. By the time it is all said and done, she may not be able to see her son and grandson more than once a year. Shui Zheqi's words put Chen Sufan's mind at ease. She can just open a restaurant in Tianjin City. With her many years of experience running a restaurant, she will be fine in a new place, and she can still go visit her son and grandson every now and then. Good, good, good. Chen Sufan was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling. On the other side, Li Xianjin and Li Dong were chatting. You've done a good job, it's been just over a month and you've already made such progress. First, stabilize the situation, and then take things step by step. When you've earned enough capital, you can consider opening a restaurant, Li Xianjin said. Chapter 22 Li Dad's Advice. I know, Dad. Li Dong nodded with a smile. After you get married, you'll become a real man, and you'll have to bear the burden of a family. Your wife and children will depend on you for food and living expenses in the future. A man has to be responsible. When something happens, the first thing you should think about is how to solve it, not backing down and avoiding it. Li Xianjin looked at the still immature Li Dong and gave him some advice. I know, Dad. Li Dong nodded. Zheqi is so good that she can be with you. You must know how to cherish that. A wife is there to be loved and spoiled, not to be vented on. You must treat her well, so that she doesn't feel aggrieved by being with you. And there will always be bumps in the road in a marriage. You have to learn to appease your wife. Women are more emotional, especially the younger ones. You have to be able to grasp the essence of the problem. They care more about your attitude than the right or wrong of the matter itself. Do you understand? Yes. Li Dong nodded. As long as it's not a matter of principle, if the two of you disagree on the same thing, just listen to your wife. You just need to express your opinions and views. As for how to choose whether to listen to your wife, unless your wife explicitly says to let you decide, then you decide. This will save a lot of trouble and worry. Li Xianjin said. Why is that? Li Dong asked doubtfully. Son, you may not understand this point that Dad is making right now because you have just started your own family. You will gradually understand it in the future. You just need to remember what Dad has said. You will experience this in your life in the future. This will make the family more harmonious and the relationship between husband and wife better. Li Xianjin said. Is it really that strange? Li Dong asked with a smile. Oh, yes, it is really that strange. Li Xianjin said with a laugh. Okay, I remember, Dad. Li Dong nodded. And, regarding your wife's family, pay more and talk less. If there's anything, visit your in-laws more often. Remember, every time you go to their house, whether it's a holiday or not, don't go empty-handed. Even if you buy 2 caddies of fruit, don't let your hands be empty. If you're not sure which one to buy the expensive one. Don't be stingy, understand? Li Xianjin continued to give his advice. Okay, Dad, I got it. Li Dong nodded to show that he understood. Words are like locks of happiness, but they can also hurt. When you are angry, don't make decisions lightly, and don't speak carelessly. What's said is done, and you can't take it back. When something happens, think about whether you did the right thing, whether it was appropriate. Look for the problem in yourself first, and learn to put yourself in other people's shoes. Don't shirk your responsibilities or blame the problem on the other person, Li Xianjin said. Okay, I can still do that. Li Dong nodded. Well, your temper is like mine, more moderate, not the kind of hot-tempered person. If you encounter a problem that you can't solve, the two of you should discuss it more. Zheqi is a teacher, a little older than you, and has more experience, education, and life experience than you, so you should listen and learn more, understand? Li Xianjin continued. These words are the summary of his half-life experience, some of which are personal experiences, and some of which are the personal experiences of the people around him. They are all the summary of life wisdom. Okay, I think I can do that. Li Dong nodded with a smile. The two of them had a teacher-student relationship, and naturally he was inferior to him. Plus, he was not a competitive person, so if there was really something going on, they would definitely discuss it together.
Meanwhile, in an upscale residential area of Tianhai City, a couple was packing their things. You met the boy, do you think he is reliable? Shui Rengang asked. He seems kind, not the kind of smooth-talking guy. His cooking is really good, so he can open a restaurant without any problems, Zhang Xia said. That's good, but unfortunately he's not a STEM guy, Shui Rengang sighed. What's wrong with not being a STEM guy? Are STEM guys good husbands and fathers? Can STEM guys care about their families and take good care of their wives and children? Zhang Xia retorted directly. Forget it, forget it. Shui Rengang raised his hands in surrender, and his casual remark had directly stirred up a hornet's nest. In his perception, science and engineering men are more straightforward, with simpler thinking and less guile. Plus, most science and engineering men work in technology, so they don't have as much contact with the outside world, don't have as much socializing to do, and their interpersonal relationships are relatively simple. When you meet Li Dong and his parents, don't look so solemn, and don't look like you're being blackmailed on your big day. Zhang Xia instructed. This is the face I have, it's been this way for half my life, I can't change it, can I? Shui Rengang said with a pout. When he learned that his daughter was pregnant before marriage, he was so angry that he smashed the teacup. At that time, he wanted to go to Tianqing City to settle the score with Li Dong. Fortunately, Zhang Xia stopped him, otherwise it was doubtful whether the wedding could go ahead. Of course, in Zhang Xia's opinion, Shui Rengang was just putting on an act. He would not do anything impulsive for the sake of his daughter's happiness. After all, he was a science and engineering man, and rational thinking occupied his entire brain. When the two of them argue, Zhang Xia sees something and throws it, but Shui Rengang never throws anything. And when she storms out of the door, Shui Rengang immediately follows her, afraid of any accidents. You know what I mean. For that half a day, you have to put on a good show, otherwise your daughter will blame you for the rest of your life. Don't say I didn't warn you, Zhang Xia said. Okay, I know. Shui Rengang said helplessly. As a senior engineer at a large state-owned enterprise, he is a lofty presence throughout the group. The employees and colleagues below are afraid to speak too loudly for fear of not being respectful enough when they speak to him. When has he ever smiled at others to apologize? Therefore, Zhang Xia's request was indeed quite difficult for him. But for the happiness of his daughter, he would endure the hardship, alas. By the way, Lao Shui, how much are you going to give your daughter as a dowry? Zhang Xia asked suddenly. Why? Shui Rengang asked, looking at his wife warily. Just asking, it's not appropriate to give too little, Zhang Xia said with a smile. The finances of the two were separate, after all, they could not spend all the money they earned, and there was no situation where someone's salary card was handed in, so she really didn't know how much money Shui Rengang had. It definitely won't be little. Don't worry, it'll definitely be more than the dowry they're giving, and I don't want the dowry money, it's also for my daughter, Shui Rengang said with a smile. That's fine, we're not selling our daughter, it's not worth getting into trouble over this little money, Zhang Xia said with a nod. Chapter 23, The Wedding. At 11 o'clock sharp on the morning of the 25th of August, Li Dong and Shui Juqi arrived at the wedding venue in a $1 million wedding car. Li Dong took Shui Juqi's hand and slowly walked onto the stage, where the audience was already seated. Most of them were Li Dong's relatives, friends and neighbors, while only Shui Juqi's parents and a few relatives had arrived on her side. After all, it was too far away and the roads were not smooth, so it would be fine to just have a family banquet at home afterwards. The groom today is incredibly handsome. I want to ask the groom, who is the person next to you? The wedding host asked. The bride. Li Dong said with a smile. Whose mother is the bride? The host asked. The audience let out a slight laugh, knowing that this is a necessary part of the wedding ceremony. The mother of my child. Li Dong said with a smile. It seems that he is still in his right mind and has not been overwhelmed by the joy of getting married today. Tell all the guests loudly, will you be good to the bride in this life? The host asked. Yes, I will love her with my life, protect her, grow up with her, and spend the rest of my life with her. Li Dong looked at Shui Juqi and smiled, with tears glistening in his eyes. Bride, did you hear what the groom said? The host asked Shui Juqi again. I heard. Shui Juqi nodded with a smile. Then do you have anything you want to say to the groom? The host asked. Mr. Li, I hope to learn from you for the rest of my life. Shui Juqi smiled and nodded, and then lightly crouched down, full of grace. What a good way to say it. You two are entering the hall of marriage for the first time, and everything is new to you. You will face the storms and rough seas of the future together. It takes 10 years to grow trees, but 100 to nurture people. You could not have come this far without the careful guidance and nurturing of your respective parents. On this joyous day, let us invite the parents of both sides to come on stage. The host said with a smile. Dear father and mother of the groom, today is the wedding day of your son. After today, your son will officially become a family man. As the saying goes, a mother worries even when her child is thousands of miles away. Please come forward and help your son fix his attire. The host said. Chen Sufan walked forward and fixed Li Dong's collar and smoothed his shirt. Li Dong, who had been quite happy, suddenly had tears in his eyes and they were falling down his face. Looking at the stars on her head and the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes, Li Dong suddenly thought of the sacrifices his mother had made for him over the past 20 years, and his nose became a little bit sore. A child is the flesh that falls off a mother's body, and a mother is most worried about whether her son is doing well. Now that your son has brought home such a beautiful daughter-in-law, are you happy? The host handed the microphone to Chen Sufan and asked. Very happy, Chen Sufan said with a smile. Then shouldn't you show your happiness? The host asked with a smile. The audience laughed, and the highlight of the wedding was about to begin. Yes, I've already prepared it. Chen Sufan took out a red envelope from her pocket and handed it to Shuejiachi. Oh, this red envelope looks a bit thin. The host asked, pretending to be surprised. It's a card, it's all in there. Chen Sufan said with a smile. Can I ask how much it is? If you don't want to say, that's fine. The host asked with a smile. 99,900. Chen Sufan said. She and Li Zhixian had discussed the amount for several days before deciding on it, and they had also asked the rest of the family. It's quite a lot, and you're quite generous, mother-in-law. The host said with a smile. The audience burst into laughter, but at the same time they were also shocked. This amount of money is not something that just any family can afford. Bride, are you satisfied with this red envelope? If not, you can say so now, and you can ask for more. Otherwise, once you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. The host asked Shuejiachi with a smile. I'm satisfied. Shuejiachi said with a smile. She was indeed satisfied with the amount, not because the amount itself was large, but because local customs usually did not have much, and this was already the maximum, which reflected the importance that the Li family had placed on her. Bride, who is this person in front of you? The host asked with a smile. My mother-in-law. Shuejiachi said. What should your mother-in-law be called? The host asked with a smile. Mom. Shuejiachi said. Did you hear that, mother-in-law? The host asked. I heard you. Chen Sufan smiled. You heard me, but you can't just hear me. You have to show your appreciation, don't you? The host asked with a smile. Yes. Chen Sufan smiled and handed Shuejiachi an envelope, which was a bit thicker than usual. Wow, you're a generous mother-in-law. The host said with exaggeration. Of course, what's mine is also my daughter-in-law's. Chen Sufan said with humor, which made everyone laugh. Bride, what do you call this person? The host asked. Dad. Shuejiachi shouted at Li Xianjin. Did you hear that, Mr. Shigangang? The host asked. I heard it. Li Xianjin grinned from ear to ear, beaming with joy. The neighbors were envious of him. His son had just graduated and found such an outstanding daughter-in-law, and he would soon be a grandfather. It was truly a double blessing. Did you hear that? The host asked. I'm ready. Li Xianjin took out a red envelope from his pocket and handed it to Shuejiachi. Judging from the thickness, it should be the same as Chen Sufan's. The bride and groom came forward. Parents, it wasn't easy raising you two. At today's wedding, let's bow 3 times to express our gratitude for your upbringing. The host said. First bow, parents raised me. Li Dong and Shuejiachi bowed deeply to their respective parents. Second bow, parents taught me. Li Dong and Shuejiachi bowed deeply again. Respect for the elderly and love for the young should be kept in mind, and marital harmony can turn yellow earth into gold. Bow again. Okay, groom, please take the bride's hand. From this moment on, whether you are rich or poor in the future, whether you are healthy or ill, you must care for her, protect her, humble yourself before her, respect her, and accompany her for a lifetime, until the end of your lives. Do you agree?
Can you do it? The host asked. I am willing and I can do it. Li Dong said to Shuijiachi. Bride, when you hold his hand, from this moment on, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are healthy or sick, you will be loyal to him, support him, help him, comfort him, and accompany him for the rest of your life, until the end of your life. Do you agree? Can you do it? The host asked. I am willing and I can do it. Shuijiachi said to Li Dong. Good, please exchange tokens of love. The host said loudly. When Li Dong and Shuijiachi exchanged rings with each other, the audience burst into warm applause, expressing their blessings to the newlyweds. Chapter 24, Toasting. The bride is really pretty. I heard she was Li Dong's college teacher. Well, I heard that her family is quite wealthy. Look at the bride's parents, their bearing is obviously different from our poor folks. Old Li is really smug this time. As soon as his son graduated, he settled the marriage matter and married such a beautiful daughter-in-law. Next year, he'll be a grandfather. His efficiency is like taking the high-speed train. And look at my son, all he does is play video games at home. He never leaves the house. People would think he's in the maternity ward. It's killing me. If only you'd studied hard. Look at Li Dong. He went to university and married his teacher. His children won't have any problems with their education. They won't even need to go to tutoring classes. When are you going to bring me a girlfriend? I'll be smiling in my sleep. It seems that Li has earned a lot over the years. Li Dong paid a down payment of over 1 million yuan for a house in Tianqing City, and Li Xianjin took it. So it's better to run a business. You can't save up 1 million yuan on a dead-end salary. If they couldn't afford the house, it's doubtful that Li Dong would have gotten married today. After all, without a house, which girl would want to rent a house with you? Daughter-in-law, shall I accompany you to change clothes and prepare to toast? Li Dong walked over and smiled. Okay. Shuijiachi nodded. When they arrived in the private room for newlyweds, Li Dong helped Shuijiachi take off her wedding dress. Daughter-in-law, you look really good, so pretty. Li Dong exclaimed as he looked at Shuijiachi, who was only wearing underwear and leggings. A full bust, long slender legs, fair skin, perky buttocks, dark shiny hair, big eyes, long eyelashes, a high nose bridge, the heavens really are biased in Shuijiachi's favor. Silly, quickly hand me the clothes, don't keep the guests waiting. Shuijiachi said with a smile, and gave Li Dong a little tap on the forehead. The red, fitted shoha dress perfectly accentuated Shuijiachi's beautiful figure, and the bead hairpin on her head made her look noble and composed. Li Dong took Shuijiachi's hand, and each of them held a small wine glass in their hands, ready to toast the guests. Of course, Shuijiachi was pregnant and definitely could not drink, so she was given only plain water. The first table they toasted was Li Dong's parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Li Dong, you are a real man now, you have to take on the burden of the family, treat Jiechi well, and let others know how humble you are, right? Li Dong's grandfather said with deep meaning. Don't worry, Grandpa, we'll come back to visit you often, Li Dong said with a smile. Jiechi, this kid has been afraid of me since he was a kid. If Li Dong bullies you in the future, just tell your uncle. Li Dong's younger brother-in-law Chen Dongwei said. Okay, thanks, little brother-in-law, Shuijiachi said with a smile. After toasting the first table, the second table came to Shuijiachi's parents' table. Dad, I'd like to toast you. Li Dong lifted his glass and gulped it down. Li Dong's glass was full of real white wine, and this glass had at least 1 or 2 liang. Shui Rengang was about to put on airs, but Zhang Xia nudged his arm next to him, signaling him not to go too far. Shui Rengang took a sip. Dad, Jiechi told me that you like to play ping pong. I also liked playing ping pong when I was young. When you're not busy, you and I can play a few games. Li Dong said with a smile. Oh? Sure. Shui Rengang was originally unhappy that Li Dong had taken his daughter away, but when he heard about playing ping pong, it made him light up. He could do more than just play, he was very good at it, and he was one of the best in the entire group. Since Li Dong wants to be abused, he can let off some steam. As for whether Li Dong liked playing table tennis since he was a child? Of course not, he was a complete novice. He was just saying that to give his father-in-law a way out. Okay, no problem, Dad. Li Dong toasted Shui Rengang again. Today is your big day, and your mother has strictly ordered me not to make trouble. But I have something to tell you, and I won't feel right until I've said it. Shui Rengang suddenly stood up and said. Go ahead, Dad, I'm listening. Li Dong said.
Shui Jiaqi nervously looked at her father, afraid that he would say something bad because he was angry, which would make everyone look bad.
Zhang Xia gave a warning look, although she couldn't hold back her tears.
I have only one precious daughter. I'm afraid of losing her if I hold her in my hands, and I'm afraid of melting her if I hold her in my mouth.
Today I'm handing her over to you. You have to love her more than I do, understand? Shui Rengang said to Li Dong.
Don't worry, Dad, this is already engraved in my bones.
Li Dong nodded.
If your feelings change in the future and you can't live together anymore, please don't scold her, and don't hit her.
Call me and I'll come get her back home, understand? Shui Rengang's eyes were glistening with tears.
Shui Jiaqi was beside herself with tears, and it was only at this moment that she realized that her father's love for her had always been there, and that it had not been lacking in the slightest because he had spent so little time with her when she was young. Since she was young, she had never seen her father show such a weak side, and now he was in front of her with tears in his eyes.
Don't worry, Dad, it will never come to that, Li Dong said with a determined expression. Okay, I'll see how you behave in the future. If my daughter is wronged in the slightest, I'll come over with a stick in my hand, since we're close by anyway. Shui Rengang said.
Okay, at that time, the son-in-law promises not to fight back and to take any beating or scolding.
Li Dong said.
Shui Rengang wanted to say a few more words, but Zhang Xia next to him directly dragged him back to his seat.
Everyone around them was curious about what had happened here, and if they continued talking, they didn't know what people would say if it got out. Mom, I'd like to propose a toast to you.
Li Dong said to Zhang Xia, who was dressed up for the occasion.
Well, the wedding is over, and now it's time to start living your lives together.
You two are both only children, and you are both the treasures of your parents' hearts, but after forming a small family, you must be considerate of each other, discuss more, and communicate more when things happen.
Zhang Xia looked at Li Dong and Shui Jiaqi and said. I know, Mom, don't worry. Li Dong nodded and said seriously.
Shui Jiaqi's eyes were still teary, and she hadn't calmed down yet.
Jiaqi, you are so beautiful today, and this is the most beautiful time in your life. Your auntie wishes you two a long life together.
Li Dong, Jiaqi tells me that you work very hard. A man should put his career first, and then take care of his family. While you are making money, don't forget to spend time with your wife and children. Shui Jiaqi's auntie Zhang Hong said, and her eyes drifted unintentionally towards her sister and brother-in-law. Shui Jiaqi said that her sister-in-law Zhang Hong is the captain of the Criminal Police Brigade of Tianhai City Public Security Bureau, and is an expert with guns. Don't look at her gentle face, she is ruthless when catching criminals. I don't know if Shui Jiaqi was insinuating something when she told him this, or if she was just trying to warn herself.
Chapter 25, In-Laws. The bride is really pretty, and the groom is handsome too. I wish you both a son soon. Qi Xiaoxiao teased.
The school teachers didn't notify them, so Qi Xiaoxiao came as a representative.
It was too far away to come and go conveniently. I hope you find your ideal man soon too.
Li Dong said with a smile.
Hey, you dare to tease your teacher, right?
I should have failed you in the beginning if I knew you were so naughty.
Qi Xiaoxiao joked. Oops, now that you mention it, I'm a little scared. I'll go check if my diploma is still there. Li Dong laughed. Thank you to all the family and friends here. Jiaqi and I would like to propose a toast.
After the toast to both families, Li Dong said to the guests. After the toast, everyone started to eat. In-laws, let's go to the private room to eat, it's quieter. Chen Sufan walked over and smiled at Zhang Xia. Today, Chen Sufan, as the happy mother-in-law, was dressed very beautifully, in a blue cheongsam, and she had specially ironed her hair and dyed it a little red, which made her look much younger. Good, just in time for the two of us to have a nice chat. Zhang Xia took Chen Sufan's hand and went to the private room together, followed by Shui Rengang, Zhang Hong, and Li Xianjin.
You're so young, in-law.
I heard Jiaqi say you were a few years older than me, but I can see for myself today that Jiaqi was lying to me.
It's clear that I'm a few years older than you. Chen Sufan said with a smile.
I am a few years older than you, but I probably worry less about things. But you're still young, and with this hairdo you don't look like you're about to become a grandmother. Zhang Xia was very happy to hear Chen Sufan say that.
Who doesn't like to be told they look young? What's more, Chen Sufan and her are in a special position, being related by marriage.
Why don't we say that Jiaqi is a good girl who is well behaved and sensible, so you don't have to worry about her much, and she is excellent in everything.
Li Dong is not the same.
When he was a child, he was naughty and got beaten a lot.
He couldn't do anything well, and he didn't leave anything uneaten. He made me angry a lot. It wasn't until he went to university that he slowly became a bit more sensible. He still knew to call me once or twice a week to say hello. Maybe it's because of the good education at a good school. Teachers at good schools are responsible and highly qualified, and they produce good students. Chen Sufan's words praised Zhang Xia and her daughter, and gradually made Zhang Xia, who had been a little reserved, relax. Shui Jieqi whispered in Li Dong's ear, "What do you mean you eat everything?" "Well, I'm particularly fond of food." Li Dong smiled. "You eat everything?" Shui Jieqi teased. "Yes, I'm so angry that I'd even eat a person, and I wouldn't even spit out the bones." Li Dong said with a wicked smile. "Yuck." Shui Jieqi blushed and said, "You're a few years older than me, so I'll call you brother." "Brother, you've raised a good daughter." To be honest, Li Dong has married into a good family with Jieqi. Li Dong said to Shui Rengang. Li Dong is also a very outstanding child. Shui Rengang said hesitantly, as the other person had lowered their stance so much, he could not hold a grudge. Li Dong is outstanding, but only compared to the average person. Compared to Jieqi, she is still more outstanding. This is true of her appearance, education, family background, and work. So, brother, thank you. I toast you. I'll drink, you do as you please. Li Xianjin tilted his head back and drank 2 taels. Brother, I heard from Jieqi that you were once involved in designing warships. That's amazing. When I was young, I also wanted to become a soldier, but I failed the physical examination because I had a long scar on my body. Li Xianjin said with envy. That's a bit of a pity, but whatever you do, you're serving the country. You're also serving the country by cooking for the staff in the canteen. Shui Rengang said with a smile. Serving in the army is regrettable for 3 years, but not serving in the army is regrettable for the rest of your life. So this is one of my regrets. Later, when Li Dong was applying to university, I told him to apply to military school, so that he could fulfill my dream of going to military school for me. His scores were high enough to get into a military school in our province, but the kid insisted on studying food science. I was so angry that I beat him with a belt for half an hour. Li Xianjin said with a scathing tone. Really? How many points did Li Dong get on the exam? Shui Rengang looked at Li Dong in surprise. 666 points, 60 points above the provincial first-tier line that year, more than enough to get into military school, but this kid is not interested in that, he insists on making a name for himself in the food industry. Li Xianjin said. There are 360 professions, each with its own master, and he will only be more successful in the industry he loves. Shui Rengang couldn't help but think highly of Li Dong when he heard that he had scored so high in the exam but had applied for a cold major. You have to know that as a major province for college entrance exams, Hunan Province's college entrance exam admission line is very high, and the competition for college entrance exams is fierce. There are millions of candidates every year, and the students who can get into the second-tier universities have come out of thousands of competitors. With such a high score, Li Dong is qualified to apply for some popular majors in 985 universities, such as finance and computer science. These are all high-paying industries, which are definitely much more popular than the food industry. But this Li Dong actually chose an unconventional path and applied to the Tianqing University of Technology, one of the top 3 universities in the country for food science, an ordinary 211 university. Come on, let's toast. I'll drink first, you go ahead. Li Dong told him that his father-in-law could hold his drink, and the more he got happy, the more he drank. Slow down, don't set the pace so fast. Shui Rengang advised. It's fine, my dear. You're happy today, the big event for the 2 kids is over, and they'll be living their own lives from now on. We're far away, and we can't usually look after them, so I'll have to rely on you and your wife to take care of them. Li Xianjin finished off the 2 taels and said. My dear, what are you talking about? They're our own kids, it's only right. Shui Rengang couldn't persuade him, so he had to drink with him, and also finished off the 2 taels. Drinking 1 glass at a time made his stomach feel a bit queasy. Brother, if Li Dong does something impolite or wrong, you can just give him a good slap. Don't hold back, and don't worry about me or his mother's face. A man should act like a man. It doesn't matter if you don't have a family, and it's no big deal to fool around a bit. But once you have a family, you have to prioritize your family in everything you do, and you have to consider your wife and children in everything you do. Li Xianjin burped, saying that he had drunk a bit too much and his speech had already begun to slur. Li Dong is a good boy with a bright future. With such a high score, he went to study food science. The boy will definitely go far. Shui Rungang nodded. I only graduated from junior high school, I don't have much education, I'm just a cook, I can only cook, I can't help him much. You are an engineer, a top student, a highly skilled talent, your knowledge and experience are leagues ahead of me. In the future, you will have to give this kid Li Dong a lot of advice. Li Xianjin tilted his neck and gulped down another 2 taels of wine. Chapter 26, Pig and Cabbage. No problem, no problem. Schwerengang accompanied another glass, and before he could even taste the hot dish, half a gene of wine had already gone down his throat. Did you really get beaten up by your father-in-law for 2 hours because you applied to study food science? Shuijiachi asked with a smile. Well, 2 hours is an exaggeration, but at least half an hour. My father was tired of beating me, and he even went out for a smoke to relax in the middle. Li Dong said with a bitter smile. You're really stubborn, but I admire your courage and ambition, knowing what you like to do. Many people waste a long time after graduation and can't find their direction, doing work they don't like, day after day, and eventually extinguishing their passion and fighting spirit. Shuijiachi smiled and said, and there was a hint of admiration in her beautiful eyes looking at Li Dong. I will definitely make it if I set my mind to it. Unless I exhaust every possible way and it is completely impossible, I will not give up as long as there is a glimmer of hope, Li Dong said with a smile. Should I go and persuade them? Shuijiachi looked at the 2 men's father, who was still drinking. No need to persuade, a man's friendship needs to be cemented with alcohol, Li Dong said with a smile. Shuijiachi didn't quite understand, but she thought there shouldn't be a problem. Everyone else in the private room had finished eating, but the 2 of them were still drinking, so they couldn't speak clearly and their hands were shaking as they held their cups. All they could hear was Schwerengang say, Brother, one more, you're still the best. Your pig has eaten all my cabbage. No, you're still the best. Your cabbage has lured all my pigs away, said Li Xianjin, his tongue getting all tangled up. Your pig is still the best, said Schwerengang, shaking his head. Your cabbage is still the best. Li Xianjin muttered as he slumped over the table. Yours is the best. Schwerengang finally couldn't hold on any longer and slumped over the table. If Li Dong hadn't acted quickly, he would have slipped under the table. Li Dong and Shuijiachi looked at each other, unable to listen any longer. The more they talked, the more outrageous it became. They called a few people to carry Li Xianjin and Schwerengang to the guest room next door to rest, and asked someone to keep an eye on things here. Are you tired? Let me take you back to the new room, go back and rest well, you have been standing for so long today. Li Dong said with concern. Well, that's fine, but then you have to keep an eye on Dad a bit more. Shuijiachi nodded and said. Don't worry, your father is also my father. Li Dong said with a smile. It was past 6 p.m. when Schwerengang woke up first. In a daze, he felt someone wiping his hands and face and pouring him some water to drink. When he opened his eyes, he saw Li Dong serving him, and knew that Li Dong must have been here all afternoon. Cough, how is your father? Has he woken up yet? Schwerengang asked, looking for a topic of conversation. Not yet. My father can't hold his alcohol, and he usually only drinks half a gene, but today he's already drunk almost a gene. Li Dong said with a smile. I'll accept you as my son-in-law, but remember what I told you, it will always be valid. Schwerengang said. Don't worry, Dad, a man's word is his bond. You have to finish the path you have chosen, even if you have to do it on your knees. Li Dong said with a smile. Good, I really appreciate your perseverance. It's quite similar to what I was like when I was young. Schwerengang said with a smile. This was the first time he had smiled in front of Li Dong, and it finally made Li Dong's heart settle. After another half hour or so, Li Jingxian also woke up, and the first thing he said was, Has my brother woken up yet? Because they both had work to do, Schwerengang and Zhang Xia and the others stayed in Shanxi City for 2 days before returning to Tianhai City, accompanied by Li Dong and Shuijiachi. Daughter-in-law, I'm going to set up my stall, so you walk around the community too, don't just keep lying or sitting. Li Dong said with a smile. Okay, I know. Shuijiachi nodded. Before leaving the house, Li Dong pointed at his mouth and smiled at Shuijiachi. Nonsense, I didn't get enough kisses last night. Shuijiachi rolled her eyes and said. Last night when we were sleeping, Li Dong said he wanted to kiss, and while kissing, he got unruly. Not only did he get her all covered in saliva, his mouth was about to get swollen from kissing her so much. You can't get enough kisses in a lifetime. Li Dong took 2 steps forward, picked up Shuijiachi's chin in a domineering manner,
and directly kissed the red lips in front of him, taking a light taste. What a scoundrel! After Li Dong left, Shuijiachi puffed up her cheeks and said, and then she thought of the scene last night when Li Dong bullied her, and she couldn't help blushing. In the snack street, Li Dong had just set up his stall when a few students came. Boss, you finally opened the door, I thought you were going to quit, a boy said with a smile. Li Dong had posted a notice on the door saying that he was taking 3 days off due to family matters, and yesterday was the third day. They had come from the normal university specifically, but Li Dong hadn't opened the door. No, I have to support my family. What would you like to eat today? I'll give you each a skewer of barbecued meat as a gift. Li Dong asked with a smile. Although he would earn 2,000 to 3,000 yuan less for each day he didn't open the door, getting married was far more important than making money. See, I told you this boss is generous, you'll be buying the bill later. The boy said to the other. On the way here, the two of them bet on whether Li Dong would open the door, and if he did, whether he would give away skewers of meat. The loser would pay for the meal. No problem, I'll pay if I lose. 10 skewers of grilled meat, 10 skewers of plum tendons, 10 skewers of grilled gluten, 2 skewers of large kidneys, 1 portion of grilled aubergines, 2 portions of grilled leeks, 2 portions of grilled flatbread, not too much chili, and 2 liters of white beer. Okay, just a moment, it will be ready soon. Li Dong said with a smile. Boss, you finally opened the door. I've eaten kebabs from other places a few times these past few days, and it's really hard to describe. Mei Shan, the short-haired girl, said with a smile. I had some family business the other day, but now it's done. What do you want to eat today? Li Dong asked with a smile, keeping up the pace. 10 skewers of grilled meat, 10 skewers of grilled gluten, 1 order of grilled flatbread, 1 order of golden needle mushrooms, and 1 order of sour plum soup. Mei Shan said. She lives nearby and is also a student at the normal university. In the past few days, she would always stop by after dinner for a look, and every time she looked, she was disappointed. Today, she didn't have high hopes, but when she opened the door, she was overjoyed. Great, I'll give you a skewer of grilled meat. Li Dong said with a smile. Boss, it's the holiday season and you're already so busy, and when the school next door starts in a couple of days, you won't be able to keep up. You'll be so busy taking orders that you won't have time to breathe. Mei Shan said with a smile. As a foodie, she knows exactly where to find good food. There are at least 30 kebab restaurants within a 10-kilometer radius, and she's basically tried them all. But she hasn't found one that can match Li Dong in terms of taste, service, and price. Chapter 27. The key to being stabbed 1,000 times is that hiring someone can't help me at all. Originally, most customers take away their food, and a lot of the work is on the skewers. If someone else takes over, they won't be able to control the heat and the flavor. Li Dong said with a smile. The reason his skewers are so good is that he has precise control over the heat and the seasonings. One more or one less would be a bit off. That's true. Then you are in pain but also in happiness. Mei Shan took the kebab, took a bite of the grilled gluten, and was so happy that she almost screamed. The familiar feeling was back. Boss, 5 liters of white beer, 5 liters of dark beer, 30 kebabs of grilled gluten, 10 kebabs of large kidneys, 10 kebabs of chicken wings, and extra chili peppers. 4 middle-aged men came in, seemingly from the construction site next door, and they had just finished working. Good, please come inside and have a seat, it will be ready soon. Li Dong said with a smile. Boss, do you have a secret recipe for your home-brewed beer? It tastes great and has a very good mouthfeel. I took home a liter last time and after trying it, all my workmates said it was delicious. I brought some of them here today to try it for themselves. A man with a Mediterranean complexion said with a smile. Of course. People who drink a lot of beer know the difference between good and bad beer after just one sip. Some can even tell the difference by the smell. I have a principle in business: never use substandard products, never pass off inferior goods as superior, and never fool the customer. Li Dong said with a smile. The entire brewing process has been adjusted and verified countless times by him. The purity of the hops, the malt content, the quality of the yeast, etc., are like a multivariate equation, and any change in quantity will lead to a different result. Well said, in the future, we'll come to your place for drinks, it's cheap and delicious. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Hey, Li Dong? A boy shouted at Li Dong. Wang Chanfeng, why are you here so early? The semester doesn't start for a couple of days.
Li Dong looked at the boy in front of him, who was a junior in the same major as him. The two had often bumped into each other in the library before, and Wang Changfeng had asked Li Dong questions about his major. "I'm not planning to take the postgraduate entrance exam, so I'm just here a few days early to study." "What are you doing selling barbecue here, senior?" Wang Changfeng asked, puzzled. "I like it. It's a perfect match for my major. Providing customers with delicious food is the unshirkable responsibility of every food professional." Li Dong spoke seriously but nonsense. "You're awesome, senior. Then give me 10 skewers of grilled gluten, with less chili, and an order of sour plum soup," Wang Changfeng said with a smile. "Don't pay, I'll treat you today, and you can pay next time you come," Li Dong said with a smile. He still has a high opinion of this junior who is a bit like himself. He studies hard and is self-disciplined, but is a bit shy. "Hey, thanks, senior," Wang Changfeng said with a smile. In a few minutes, Li Dong handed Wang Changfeng the skewers. Wang Changfeng took one and gave it a taste, then gave a thumbs up and said, "The taste is really good, senior. I'll come to you for skewers in the future. By the way, senior, do you know something?" "What is it?" Li Dong asked, holding a skewer in his hand and looking at his junior. "Our philosophy teacher, Mr. Shui, got married. I heard that she's pregnant too," Wang Changfeng said in a gossipy tone, taking a bite of the grilled gluten. "Really?" Li Dong's mouth corners rose up, and he was surprised to find that he had eaten the melon onto himself. "Yes, it's a pity. I don't know what Mr. Shui was thinking, getting married so early. Maybe the son of a bitch is very rich, otherwise why would Mr. Shui like him?" Wang Changfeng said while eating. "That's not necessarily the case. Teacher Shui is not the kind of woman who worships money. Maybe the two of them really love each other," Li Dong said smugly, not knowing what the expression on the face of his junior would be when he found out that the one who got away with it was him. The goddess in the hearts of so many people was just taken down by another man. The thought that teacher Shui is being held in her sleep every night by the one who got away with it, and even having intimate relations, annoys me and I can't sleep," Wang Changfeng said resentfully, taking 2 big bites of the kebab to vent his frustration. Cough, don't think like that. We should be happy for Miss Shui and wish her well. As long as she is happy, we, her former students, should be happy too. Besides, Miss Shui will get married sooner or later, so what does it have to do with you?" Li Dong said with a sneer. He said that, but he really felt bad. Now that Miss Shui is pregnant, I don't know if she will be able to teach our class this year. It's all that son of a bitch's fault, Wang Changfeng said, taking a sip of sour plum syrup. "I'm not sure. If she just got pregnant, it shouldn't affect her teaching. She had no problems last semester, but who knows what will happen next semester," Li Dong said. "By the winter vacation, she will probably be 7 or 8 months pregnant. At that time, she will be in the 3rd trimester and will most likely not be able to teach. Alas, a good cabbage is gone. I'll leave now, senior, and come back some other time to eat your kebabs," Wang Changfeng said with a sigh, then turned and walked away. The night was hectic and didn't end until 10:30 p.m., but the results were very impressive, with a net profit of more than 2,800 yuan. After tidying up the stall, Li Dong went back to the teacher's residential area, took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and then walked to Mingduyuan. Because he had been smelling of barbecue all night, Li Dong didn't want his daughter-in-law to smell it, as it was bad for the unborn baby. So after closing up shop, he would go to the teacher's residential area to shower and change clothes before returning to Mingduyuan. As soon as he reached the entrance to the residential area, Li Dong saw his daughter-in-law sitting on a bench. "Daughter-in-law, why are you still sitting here so late?" Li Dong hurriedly took a few steps forward and walked up to Shuijiachi. "I figured it was time for you to close up shop, so I came down early to take a walk. I walked around for a while and came here to rest for a while," Shuijiachi said with a smile. "It's pretty boring to be alone in the house for a long time, so I just came down to get some fresh air. It's getting a little late, so let's hurry back and get some rest." "Staying up late is not good," Li Dong said with concern. Shuijiachi obediently nodded. After returning to the house, Li Dong took Shuijiachi in his arms and went directly to the bedroom to rest. After lying down on the bed, Li Dong playfully embraced Shuijiachi in his arms, and without waiting for Shuijiachi to say anything, he picked up the chin of his beloved and kissed the red lips directly in front of him. The kiss was very serious and gentle. Shuijiachi shyly closed her eyes and put her arms around Li Dong's neck. "Nasty, okay, your mouth is about to be swollen by your kiss." Shuejechi said with a red face. Chapter 28, What's mine is yours. I'm a little angry, so I'll kiss you a little more. Li Dong said with a pout. What's wrong? Shuejechi asked curiously. Then Li Dong told Shuejechi about the conversation he had with his junior Wang Changfeng that night, which made Shuejechi laugh uncontrollably. Wang Changfeng? I have a bit of an impression of him. He listens very attentively in class and likes to ask questions. Some of the questions are so difficult that I can't answer them. He's a good seed. Shuejechi said with a smile. No, I'm jealous. Give me another kiss. Li Dong kissed Jechi again. You little jealous man. Shuejechi pushed Li Dong's head and said with a blush. You're right, I'm a jealous man. Li Dong admitted with a big smile. He. Shuejechi laughed happily, being jealous meant that Li Dong cared about her. Well, I'm the only one who can bully you in this life, and I'm the only one who will bully you in this life. Li Dong pinched Shuejechi's pretty face and said with a smile. Shouldn't you love and spoil me? Shuejechi said coquettishly. Bullying means loving and spoiling means bullying. Li Dong said with a smile, and then whispered something in Shuejechi's ear. Yuck, you're so bad. Shuejechi is a little white rabbit who has never been in love before, so how would she know? Jechi, I like you, ever since the first day you taught us. Your temperament, your gentleness, your knowledge, and your conversation are like a poison that attracts me. Li Dong suddenly said seriously. But I can only keep this like buried in my heart. I know that the gap between us is too big to say this like out loud. Few of the students you have taught or met you don't like you, and I am just one of the insignificant ones. I thought this liking would be buried in my heart for the rest of my life, until the moment I close my eyes. I never thought that one day, I could hold you in my arms, marry you, raise the next generation with you, and spend the rest of my life with you. Several times I woke up in the middle of the night and looked next to me first to see if you were still there, to see if I was dreaming, because in a dream there is everything, and when you wake up, there is nothing. So no one can understand how I feel, the feeling of wanting to give you my heart. During the wedding toast, my father-in-law said that he would never let you suffer. I thought to myself, as long as I have a clear mind, how could I bear to see you suffer even a little? Li Dongfan's passionate confession made Shuejechi's eyes sparkle. She often receives confession messages and gifts from students or colleagues, and she knows that many people regard her as a goddess, but she has no plans to fall in love or get married. Damn it, you're making me cry again. I'm just afraid that after a few years, you'll get bored and there won't be any novelty left, and you'll want someone new. With your hard work and resilience, making money is not a problem at all. What kind of woman can't you get if you have money? Even the initiative of those women will surprise you. How can I compete with them when I'm old and wrinkled? Shuejechi said coquettishly. Primitive transactions have always been prevalent in every corner, some noble, some dirty, some visible, and some not. If you have money, you can hear your sister's voice at any time. If you don't have money, you can only watch her short videos on your phone. Let's get to work, daughter-in-law, there's no point in talking too much, go to sleep. Li Dong said, kissing Shuejechi's forehead. Shuejechi leaned into Li Dong's arms, closed her eyes, and fell asleep with a smile on her face, recalling Li Dong's words. The next morning, Li Dong got up first to make breakfast. Yam and millet lotus seed porridge, stir-fried shredded potatoes with vinegar, scrambled eggs with shrimp, and egg pancakes. Daughter-in-law, get up and eat. Li Dong said with a smile, pinching Shuejechi's nose. No, I'll sleep a little longer. Shuejechi rolled over and muttered. Recently, the amount of sleep has increased by almost an hour. In the past, she used to sleep for more than 8 hours, but now it's more than 9 hours. Well, I'll put the food in the thermos and you can eat it when you wake up, okay? Li Dong said with a smile. Ugh, why do I need to eat? I want to sleep. Shuejechi said coquettishly. Although she is a university teacher, she is essentially still a 25-year-old girl in the prime of her life, and it is in her nature to be cute and cuddly. You can continue to sleep after you eat. Not eating will not only make you hungry, but also the baby in your tummy. Li Dong coaxed. Ugh, you said the princess should get up, Shuejechi said, rubbing her sleepy eyes and pouting. The princess should get up. Li Dong said with a smile. Shuejechi said, and started getting dressed. Honey, you should deposit the red envelopes you received at the wedding into the bank today. You don't use much cash these days, Shuejechi said, taking a sip of millet porridge. Okay, give me your card and the red envelopes later, I'll go deposit them when I pass a bank branch, Li Dong said with a smile. Just deposit your card, men need to have some money in their hands, Shui Zheqi said. Men just need to make money, leave the menial task of spending money to you women, Li Dong said with a smile. On the day of the wedding, Li Dong's parents gave Shui Zheqi a bride price of 99,900 yuan and a change of mouth fee of 20,200 yuan, meaning 1 in 10,000. Li Dong's grandparents, uncles, aunts, and other relatives gave a total of 60,000 yuan in wedding gifts and money. Li Dong's family received more than 120,000 yuan in wedding gifts, for a total of 300,000 yuan. Chen Sufan gave all of it to Shui Zheqi, so the couple could buy furniture and appliances for the new house or a car. Shui Zheqi sighed. Her father gave her 500,000 yuan in dowry, her mother gave her 500,000 yuan in dowry, and the three golds added up to about 100,000 yuan. Shui Zheqi's sister-in-law, grandparents, and other relatives gave nearly 2 million yuan in contributions. Of course, all this money was transferred directly, it was impossible to go to the wedding carrying cash. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Do we still need to be so clear about dividing up our money as husband and wife? Shui Zheqi rolled her eyes and said. It's not that I can't tell the difference, it's just that I don't have any expenses, so you can just keep it. My barbecue stand makes a profit every day, so I don't need any money, Li Dong said with a smile. Okay, then just let me know if you need any money, don't make it difficult for yourself. Shui Zheqi couldn't argue with Li Dong, so she just let it go. It didn't matter who had the money anyway. By the way, honey, the new house is being renovated, and it's expected to be finished in the middle or end of October. What are your plans for the furniture? Li Dong asked. The full renovation will cost a total of 280,000 yuan. 100,000 yuan has already been paid up front, and the rest will be paid according to progress. I prefer solid wood, which is durable, environmentally friendly, and looks good. Shui Zheqi said, adding that her home is full of solid wood furniture, including the floor. Good, you're thinking the same thing as me. In the next few days, let's take a look first, and if there's anything that needs to be customized, we can place an order in advance, so that we don't have to wait. What do you think, daughter-in-law? Li Dong asked. Chapter 29, School has started. That's fine, I'll do as you say. Shui Zheqi said with a smile. You don't need to rush with the appliances. Wait until after the decoration is finished, let the place air out, and then bring in the appliances to avoid secondary pollution. Li Dong said with a smile. Shui Zheqi yawned, and as soon as she finished eating she started to feel sleepy again. September 1st, today is the first day of school at the Polytechnic University, and Shui Zheqi reluctantly got up. Recently, she has been eating and sleeping every day, eating well, sleeping well, in a good mood, and her pretty face has become rounder. Honey, I don't want to go to work. After eating, Li Dong was tidying up the kitchen, and Shui Zheqi pouted. If you don't want to go, just don't go. It's just an opening ceremony. You're not a leader or a model, so there's no point in going for a walk. Li Dong said with a smile. Exactly, but the dean has spoken, and all faculty and staff are expected to be there, unless there is a good reason to ask for leave from him. Shui Zheqi puffed up her cheeks and said. Then why don't you give the dean face and go sit there for a while before leaving? Li Dong smiled and put his arm around Shui Zheqi's shoulders. Okay, since you've said that, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to decline anymore, so I'll give the dean and you face. Shui Zheqi said with a smile. Li Dong drove Shui Zheqi to the door of the School of Philosophy at the Polytechnic University. Shui Zheqi got out of the car, and Li Dong continued to run an online car service. Hello, Teacher Shui. Have you had breakfast yet? Shall we go to the cafeteria together? A female teacher in the office asked with a smile. Hello, Teacher Zhu. I ate at home. Shui Zheqi said with a smile, then sat down in her seat and took out a rag to start wiping the desk and computer. It feels like you gained weight over the summer vacation, doesn't it? Teacher Zhu asked with a smile. The two of them sat in the same office and were relatively familiar with each other. Yes, I've gained 3 to 4 pounds, Shui Zheqi said with annoyance. When I got up this morning and stepped on the scale, I was shocked. It was already 118 pounds, and that's just my net weight. In the past few years, her weight had always stayed around 110 to 115 pounds, and she had never broken 115 pounds before. This was the fundamental reason why Shui Zheqi had yelled this morning that she didn't want to go to work, because she had gained weight. Women care about their figure and face. In fact, For Shwejechi, who is 1.7 meters tall, 110 kilograms is a bit on the skinny side, and 120 kilograms is her ideal weight, which is what Li Dong told Shwejechi.
But she looks better now. You used to be too skinny, Zhu said with a smile.
She is average looking and has an average figure, and she can't help but envy Shwejechi's looks and figure.
Really?
I'm afraid to look in the mirror, it's hard to bear the sight of the flesh on my face, Shwejechi said with a smile.
Hello, Miss Shue, where did you go on vacation?
Another teacher in the office, Mr. Zhang, asked with a smile.
I didn't go anywhere during the holidays. After finishing my thesis, I just stayed at home, eating and sleeping.
I was just telling Ms. Xu that I've gained weight, Shwejechi said with a smile. It seems like you have gained a little weight, but you're tall, so it's not obvious, and you look better instead. It seems that girls nowadays are obsessed with being skinny, which I think is abnormal and unhealthy.
Teacher Zhang is a little older, almost 50 years old, and definitely has a different perspective on things than the younger generation. Isn't it what the ancients said, that fat is beautiful?
Shwejechi said with a smile. Li Dong was even more direct this morning, saying that fat feels good to the touch, and that being chubby is definitely better than being skinny and bony, which made her pinch Li Dong's waist hard. Yes, the current direction of public opinion is completely controlled by capital, which has tricked all you young people into thinking that everything has to be exquisite. It's not so bad for girls from wealthy families, but girls from ordinary families are seriously poisoned. They go under the knife to become more beautiful, get breast implants, and even have the bottom ribs removed to get a better figure.
It's chilling just to think about it.
In the end, they don't care if they look beautiful or not, they rack up debts, and if they can't pay them back, they take out nude loans, and their whole lives slowly go to ruin.
Teacher Zhang sighed and said, "This is what happened to a relative's child.
Because she had small breasts, her boyfriend left her. In order to win him back, she took out a loan to go to Simida for breast augmentation. In the end, because of a prosthesis allergy, she had to have them removed. Not only did she have to spend money, she also suffered. She lost her boyfriend, owed a lot of debt, and couldn't pay the interest on the loan, so she jumped off a building during the summer vacation." Shwejechi was about to say something when her phone rang.
"Hello, I'm at the office, you can come,"
Shwejechi said with a smile. In a moment, Shi Xiaoxiao came over. "Let's go, the ceremony will start soon, let's go soak up some sun," Shi Xiaoxiao said with a smile, taking Shwejechi's arm.
"Okay.
I know a new restaurant that serves really delicious rice noodles, let's go there for lunch, it's near the north gate of the university," Shi Xiaoxiao said. "I'll tell Li Dong to stop cooking for me then," Shwejechi said with a smile.
"Ooh, a love lunch?"
Shi Xiaoxiao teased. "You can't even find a guy who cooks well, and I've put on weight in just the past 2 weeks."
Shwejechi. Vanity. Hey, let me ask you, now that your stomach has been captured by Li Dong, has your heart been captured too?
Shi Xiaoxiao asked with a smile.
Heart?
I think he's captured my heart too. When I'm alone in the house, I get bored and feel listless, and even when I'm on my phone, I get distracted from time to time.
When he comes home, I feel that everything is good and everything is interesting."
Shwejechi thought for a moment and said with an unconscious smile on her face.
"Let me ask you another personal question. You two have been living together for so long, have you ever done it again?"
Shi Xiaoxiao glanced around, there was no one within 2 meters, so she was not afraid of being heard.
"What?"
Shwejechi asked, looking confused.
"Don't play dumb, it's intimacy,"
Shi Xiaoxiao said with a pout.
"Yes, almost every day,"
Shwejechi said, embarrassed. Every night when they go to sleep, Li Dong will hug her, kissing and touching her. At first she was too shy to do anything, and she didn't dare to open her eyes. Gradually she got used to it and dared to look at Li Dong a few times.
"Kissing? You mean kissing, big sister?"
Shi Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes.
"Isn't that what you asked about?"
Shwejechi said confusedly.
"Is there any behavior that is a little more intimate? I don't mean anything else, I'm just purely curious."
Shi Xiaoxiao asked with a wicked smile.
"No,"
Shwejechi said with a red face, "there really isn't."
Chapter 30, The Teachings of a Good Girlfriend. "So you just kissed?"
Shi Xiaoxiao asked in surprise.
"What a waste.
You have a boyfriend, but you don't make good use of him. You should develop more positions and techniques, unlock more positions, and reach the pinnacle of life." "I'm pregnant," Shwejechi said, blushing, and giving Shi Xiaoxiao a cold stare.
You can do it after the first 3 months, as long as you're careful. Shi Xiaoxiao said with a wicked smile in Shuijiaqi's ear. Really? Shuijiaqi asked doubtfully. Compared to the tomboy Shi Xiaoxiao, Shuijiaqi is as simple as a little white rabbit. Of course, you can look it up online, and the doctor will also explain it. Shi Xiaoxiao started the car and was ready to go. The doctor did seem to have said that, but at the time I didn't really care. Shuijiaqi nodded thoughtfully, feeling that her knowledge base was not as good as that of an unmarried, non-pregnant person like Shi Xiaoxiao. Don't look at you as a wife and soon-to-be mother. In some ways, your knowledge is very lacking. You can check the relevant knowledge on the internet. Shi Xiaoxiao said with a sneer. This sister silly wouldn't know anything, would she? Well, Li Dong often searches for some parenting knowledge. Sometimes I will follow along and learn along the way. Shuijiaqi asked in a daze. Li Dong has done a good job of this, and will definitely be a good father in the future. Shi Xiaoxiao couldn't help but admire and say. I think so too. At least he'll be a better father than I was. I feel like I don't know nearly as much as Li Dong. Shuijiaqi said with a happy face. As she spent more and more time with Li Dong, Shuijiaqi felt that Li Dong had always impressed her, in every way. I'm telling you, you need to learn how to manage your husband. Don't just sit around writing papers all day. How many successful women have happy families? Shi Xiaoxiao said with a scolding tone. Shuijiaqi nodded dazedly. Every time, Li Dong would hold her and kiss her. She had gone from being at a loss as to what to do at first, to responding to a limited extent now, and from never daring to open her eyes to being able to glance a few times. As a woman, you must know how to take advantage of your femininity and give full play to your strengths, so that your life can become more and more happy. Shi Xiaoxiao said with a wicked smile. Screw you, it feels like you're waiting for me to make a fool of myself. Shuijiaqi rolled her eyes and said. No, I'm your best friend, how could I do something like that? Do you like a man who is honest and doesn't know how to make a move, or do you like a man who is naughty with you? Shi Xiaoxiao asked. Someone who is too honest definitely isn't my type, it's not interesting. Shuijiaqi said after thinking about it. Being too honest means not knowing how to be charming, romantic, or flexible, and not many women like that in a man. Similarly, men won't like women who are too boring. If you're indifferent like a dead fish while they work hard, do you think Li Dong will be happy? Shi Xiaoxiao said seriously. You're the one who's a dead fish. Shuijiaqi said, embarrassed and annoyed, and tickled Shi Xiaoxiao under the arm. In short, you have to make good use of your advantages. The master leads you in, but the practice depends on the individual. Shi Xiaoxiao said with a wicked smile. Whether Shuijiaqi will immediately put it into practice or not, this is a seed that has been planted in Shuijiaqi's heart, and it will sprout sooner or later. At that time, she will definitely want to ask about the process. When they arrived at the restaurant, it was not a large place, and the tables were almost full. They ordered a mushroom rice noodle, a chicken rice noodle, and 2 marinated eggs. The environment here is good, the decoration and layout are very fashionable, different from the traditional ones in the past, and the key is that the taste is also very good. Shi Xiaoxiao said. As a foodie, she has no resistance to good food. After waiting for 10 minutes, the 2 rice noodles were ready, and the marinated eggs were also brought over together. Shuijiaqi took a bite and chewed it carefully. How was it? Not bad, was it? Shi Xiaoxiao asked with a smile. Well, it's really good. The soup must have been made with meat broth, it's very fragrant. Do you have class tomorrow? Shuijiaqi asked with a smile. No, why? What's the big change? Shi Xiaoxiao asked, taking a mouthful of rice noodles. Come to my house tomorrow at noon, I'll let you try the rice noodles that Li Dong makes. Shuijiaqi said with a smile. What, Li Dongs are better than these? Shi Xiaoxiao asked with disbelief. She had eaten the kebabs made by Li Dong, and she had to admit that they were really delicious. The homemade beer also had a very good taste. She had even taken a bucket of white beer and drunk it all. But she had never tried the food made by Li Dong. She had only heard from Shuijiaqi that it was delicious, and she had just taken it as her best friend's flattery of her man. Everyone has a different opinion on whether something is delicious or not. You will know for yourself tomorrow when you try it. Shuijiaqi said with a smile. In her opinion, the rice noodles made at home were also delicious, but they were not as good as the ones made by Li Dong. The rice noodles made by Li Dong for her were very rich in ingredients, with quail eggs, luncheon meat, lamb rolls, chicken fillets, corn kernels and soybeans. The soup was also made with meat broth, and the texture was very good. Every time she ate them, she could not stop until she was full. Okay, I'd like to try it and see if it's really delicious or if you're just biased. Shi Xiaoxiao said with a smile. Hello, Miss Shui. The two girls happened to be sitting at the table next to them and saw Shuijuqi, so they said hello. Hello. Shuijuqi nodded politely. Miss Shui, today a few boys in our class were saying that you're not teaching this year, is that right? One of the girls asked, then her eyes glanced at Shuijuqi's stomach. I don't know who started it, but they said that Goddess Shuijuqi had gotten married and was pregnant, and that she wouldn't be teaching this year. They said it with such conviction that the group of boys were heartbroken and desperate. Everyone speculated as to which son of a bitch had married Goddess Shui and wanted to see just who this person was that had managed to win the beauty. I'll be teaching, at least for last semester for sure, Shuijuqi said with a smile. I can actually teach for about a month next semester, but it would be quite a hassle to change teachers halfway through the semester, so I'll just take some time off. Oh, okay, Miss Shui. The girls nodded with a smile. From what Miss Shui had said, they were certain that she was pregnant, but it was still early in the pregnancy, otherwise she wouldn't have said that she could definitely teach last semester.